Inside the room, our protagonist is sweating buckets with his VR headset on. In the game, he's being congratulated for finally beating it. Back in reality, he's grinning ear to ear. He'd actually done it. This game was considered a scam, pure deception. When Professi Online launched, everyone was hyped because it was the first fully realistic virtual reality game. Incredible immersion, 16K resolution visuals that were perfect, as good as reality, plus you could hear everything like with any headset, but you could also smell things, which is already wild, and even feel things. That's what I want to see soon. An open world that's insanely realistic. The developers made a weird promise. Whoever beat the game would win unimaginable riches, enough to live in luxury for over 10,000 years. Obviously nobody believed that kind of claim, but the game was realistic enough that everyone wanted to give it a shot. That all changed one day though. But hold up, let's backtrack a bit. A few days earlier at work, everyone's clocking out. Our protagonist is just a regular mason, suffering under the blazing sun, bummed out because today he's got to clean up a ton of construction debris. The worst part, he's out here hunting for a better job, but for now a part-time gig as a mason is what he's got. The routine is basically baking in the sun and then getting chewed out by the bosses. While he's there feeling miserable, he gets a message from the Professi Online admins, addressed to the top player, Rei-sama. He finds it weird since he'd turned off all notifications. The message congratulates him for coming in first in a beta test, saying rewards would be credited to his account and he should check it out. They also told him to keep enjoying life in that world. He laughs thinking it's just another scam message, but when he checks his bank account there's actually 1 million Korean coins, some serious cash. Right then a coworker slaps his shoulder asking why he's standing there like an idiot. In that same second, the protagonist bolts, unable to believe he's actually making money from the game. This makes him think that the promise of enough money to live for 10,000 years might actually be real. And man, he's number one in the beta, of course he's gonna give it a shot. But soon he realizes he was being way too naive. The game was brutal and unforgiving. The players were nothing more than sacrificial pawns. The tower guardians obliterated players along with their character data. And in that damn dungeon, the doors were always random. The worst part, man, is when you take a hit right in the chest, it hurts like hell. Your body in reality feels the exact same pain, and it's something impossible to block. This caused the game, which seemed so loved at the start, to lose more and more players. The protagonist was only earning enough to scrape by month after month in that part-time job. And now some guys are banging on his door asking when he's going to pay back the money and telling him to get out because the rent's overdue. It seems the crazy idea in the protagonist's head to just keep playing led him to borrow money even from Jota to cover rent, and now he owes both. Even in this insane situation, he kept investing all his time in this game because that promise of infinite riches for 10,000 years was something he couldn't let go of. And now there's the message congratulating Rei-sama for completing the game. The message says the experience he gained there will be extremely valuable. Our boy takes off his VR headset, his eyes throbbing with joy. He throws himself on the bed, grabs his phone to check his bank account, and gets a message from the game's developers congratulating him. Actually, it's a message to all Professi Online players, saying they've achieved the goal they were aiming for since someone completed the game. Because of that, starting today, the servers would be inaccessible. Obviously our boy wants to know where his rewards are, but the message only thanks everyone who participated in the game over the years. The poor guy drops his phone on the floor, his face twisted in frustration, wondering where the rewards are. He finished it, he completed it. They said it would be extremely valuable, so surely the money would hit his account. He lies on the bed to wait a bit. The money should come through soon. It was probably so much that the transfer would take time, but of course, nothing gets deposited into his account. That 1 million he got a long time ago. That was ages ago. Now he wonders if things wouldn't have been better if he'd given up on this nonsense a bit earlier. With all these doubts, not wanting to leave his room, a week passes. He wakes up one morning to a commotion, confused about what's going on. It wasn't his phone. So what was happening? Then the legendary, yep, you guessed it, the system window appears for the boy. The first window says the main wind test in Moscow had ended, and the place was destroyed. The Earth test was about to begin, lasting 43 days. During this time they had to defeat the boss, and the test area this time would be Japan. If they failed, the entire area would be destroyed. The protagonist is baffled by this badness. But on TV, the news doesn't lie. The reporter tells everyone to check out the situation in Moscow. The city had been completely devastated, and no one had any hope that anyone would survive. Strange giant creatures had appeared, setting everything on fire. From a helicopter, someone says what happened in Moscow is coming to Japan. It seems the incidents were related to a game called Guess What? Prophecy Online. The monsters looked a lot like creatures from the game. Some guy in Japan says he doesn't believe in this nonsense. It's not like he's in a kaiju movie. Those Moscow videos. Definitely all AI generated. For sure. The destruction was caused by tectonic plate movements. But the guy in the helicopter said it looked like the monster was aiming at something in their direction. According to the next person, the transmission was cut off. People are calling out to the poor guy, but obviously he doesn't respond. Who knows it wasn't caused by tectonic plates? Our boy. He runs to the window, certain that somehow the game had become reality. In a split second he understood what the developers meant by an extremely valuable reward. While everyone's confused, not understanding these system messages popping up, our boy already knows the true value of everything he's been through. Not only that, he's the only one who completed the game, so maybe he's also the only one who knows how to beat this game. In a flash his motivation skyrockets. He flings the door open, all dramatic, saying that with this power, he's gonna make bank. What the heck, kid? I thought you were gonna save the world, you lord of the frontier. You're already on the move. Man, this kid's too motivated. The game's barely started, and he's literally sprinting through the streets, not giving a damn about anything. The guy knows that once it clicks for everyone else, the competition for experience and farming spots is gonna heat up, and he knows the perfect beginner dungeon nearby. While everyone's on the streets, trying to head home after a workday, this lunatic's zooming past. Suddenly some guy out of nowhere yells at Endo to stop right there. Our boy jumps, startled, and sees it's Takuo, one of the idiots he borrowed a ton of money from and never paid back. The guy says he was just heading to Endo's place, but looks like he finally left the house. Damn, Takuo lights a cigarette, ready to throw punches. Flashback to a year ago when the game was still a hit. Some investment companies were offering money to players with low interest rates. All they had to do was pass a process, and they'd get enough cash to play more and work less. What a perfect combo. Our boy, the sucker, obviously took the deal, right? But in reality, he fell into a trap. Turns out they said he didn't pass parts of the test and he had to pay 50% more with massive fees. He ended up with a debt he could never shake off. Now Takuo's saying it's time for Endo to finally pay up. Endo fires back that the interest was predatory from the start, and clearly their business is shady. Takuo just says debtors always make excuses like that. But it's all good, he's there for a different reason. He remembers Endo playing that damn game every day, and he heard that very game he was addicted to has something to do with the world's current situation. He grabs Endo by the neck, demanding all the info he's got. Our boy though just tells him to take his dirty hands off his collar. The jerk's losing patience, asking if Endo has any idea who he's dealing with, but then Endo says fine, he'll help him out with some info. He activates his novice punch skill. Man, that fist deals 50% more damage. He unleashes a JoJo-style combo and the poor guy gets wrecked, collapsing to the ground. Our boy warns him the game's changed and in this new world he's the one on top. On top of what? Tell us. What are the odds you'd understand this mess I'm talking about? Our boy notices Takuo didn't tank the attacks. He's already passed out. The king of farming's back on the run. This kid's unstoppable. I'm impressed, I'll admit. But then from a car, a girl and a hooded guy see the skill. They're sure it's something from the game. The guy's already whispering that he didn't expect someone that experienced so soon. One thing's clear, the laws that define society today will collapse. The whole world and how it works will be rewritten. This guy's all smug with his little choker necklace, thinking he's hot stuff, though, I mean a choker's gotta be on the neck makes sense. What doesn't make sense is our desperate boy already at the goat's sanctuary. No doubt about it, this is exactly the same dungeon from the game. He notices an interesting car next to him and wonders how someone else is already there. Well, because they've got a car while you were running, that's how it works, man. He climbs the dungeon's stairs, and amidst it all, he starts smelling blood. Man, I'm freaked out. This world's too competitive. Our desperate boy's already late. Someone's beaten him to it. Oh no, it's not just one person. There's a whole group of adventurers. It's the Joker guy. He says if the kid made it here, he's definitely one of the players. The protagonist asks if they really cleared everything already. The guy confirms, saying those flaming lizards were high-level creatures. That info confuses Endo. He knows those monsters are actually the weakest in the game. Then the Joker guy takes off his little hood, and he says that since Endo's alone, they could be friends, but obviously our boy would have to become his subordinate and hand over half the money he earns. In return, he'd protect our kid. The rest of the group is just standing there watching, and of course Endo refuses, apologizing but saying he's in a solo leveling vibe, you know. Besides, he's certain this crew doesn't stand a chance against the boss of this place. Naturally, no one takes this news with a smile. The group huddles in a corner to talk, and their plan is to kill the kid. The leader says any player not on his team will just get in the way, but judging by the looks on the rest of the team's faces, they think this is a bit extreme. Still, the choker guy says that's his decision, and anyone who disagrees with him will also meet an accidental death. The boss of this place is known as the Blazing Goat, a creature not too hard to kill, but the problem is, it takes days to respawn. Obviously he doesn't want to risk this random kid who just showed up stealing the last hit and taking everything, so the plan is to keep him from entering the room until the boss is dead. The gate's about to open in 5 minutes, and everyone's ready. Our boy's just chilling with his hands in his pockets, super calm until the group starts closing in. He asks if they really have the guts to try and stop him like this. They say yeah, and he'd better not move a muscle. Man, our protagonist brimming with confidence, thinking he could beat them all up right now if he wanted, but he'll let them relax for now. He's sure it won't be hard to take down the boss after they've been defeated. 2 seconds left and the gate opens. The group rushes in, while Endo's on the other side, leaning against a wall, hands in his pockets, sipping tea through a straw of all things. What kind of nonsense is that? Gotta be Japanese, right? The group goes in, commenting that the kid didn't even try to come along. The choker guy says it's convenient. They won't even have to stage a random accident. The girl says it's dangerous for him to get close, but the leader's sure that kid would be too scared to try anything against him. Suddenly they're face to face with a massive room, and the choker guy tells the tank to do his job right. The tank gives a thumbs up, saying not to worry, he's got an epic shield so it'll be easy to protect himself. I don't know where he got this epic shield from if this is the first dungeon. Maybe from those lizards outside, but then it wouldn't be an epic shield, just a regular one, right? Then everyone's expressions change. A gust of wind hits them, and flames erupt. The idiot leader's trying to figure out why this is happening. What appeared wasn't the blazing goat, it was the hellfire goat. Man, the creature gives them a death stare, lets out a roar, and everyone's thrown back. Some hit the wall and die instantly, spitting blood. The leader realizes they don't stand a chance. He's already thinking about retreating and abandoning everyone, but a girl tries to grab his arm, and then the obvious happens. You're in the boss room. You can't leave. The door won't open. The choker guy's yelling at the tanks to draw the boss's attention. They're hesitating, but it's their only shot at survival. So there's the tank, activating his defense skill while the creature's readying a hammer the size of a building. The poor guy's certain he can't tank this, and just like 1 + 1 = 2, he's crushed by 3 tons to the head. Everyone's horrified when the hammer lifts. The guy's been turned into a pancake. Weirdly, the boss grabs his shield and snaps it in its mouth. This freaks everyone out, even more. Sure, it's an epic shield, but it's not like it was gonna help much against a boss that just obliterated the guy. The boss is trying to figure out why the hellfire goat showed up when it was supposed to be the blazing goat, a mildly annoying creature that, with the right strategy, you can beat. The truth? Endo knows what happened. In the game's final updates, this monster was swapped in early on because the original was too easy, and players were exploiting it. They replaced it with something tougher. Now the choker guy realizes the world's shifted to the game's latest version, not the old ones. What he wants to know is why that guy stayed outside and if he's got some kind of plan. He's banging on the door, begging the guy outside for help, saying he'll get a big chunk of the rewards, but of course he hears nothing. The leader keeps yelling until something approaches from behind. The boss swings its hammer again, sending everyone flying. They're sure at this rate they'll all be wiped out. Suddenly Endo opens the door and says whoever's leading doesn't seem very prepared. The choker guy's certain his entire group was used as a distraction for this damn kid, and then the rest of the group wants to bolt, saying it's better to let this kid fend for himself. But man, when the girl tries to leave, our boy trips her and she face plants on the ground. This guy's got no mercy for anyone, red-pilled to the max. With that, neither she nor anyone else manages to escape the room. The boss comes charging, begging them to keep the door open so he can get out. But as soon as our boy steps in, only the boss's little hand gets caught in the door. The boss then approaches, saying this guy screams too much, raising his hammer and declaring this is the end of his life. I thought our kid was gonna save him, but nah, the guy really gets turned into jelly. Now the rest of the group is freaking out, wondering how they're gonna get out of this alive. Endo picks up the leader's old sword and says the guy was weak, but the blade's not half bad. The boss though swings his hammer again and asks if the kid's that eager to die. He slams the hammer into the ground, but our boy's already jumped behind his head, asking since when a monster like this can talk. He lands 2 slashes, both cutting off the boss's horns. He looks at the 2 survivors from the group and says he's got an offer. If they pay 10 million, he'll consider saving them. Obviously the girl's confused, asking if he's serious. He says yeah, but to be humble he'll drop it to 1 million per person. Of course the 2 start complaining, saying the game just started, so obviously they don't have that kind of cash on hand. Clearly Endo's trying to take advantage of them. He says it's simple, if they don't have the money they can pay with their bodies. Nobody wants to die so young. If they swear to serve him from now on and give him 90% of everything they earn from monsters, they'll pay it off in no time. Man, the friends are terrified, saying even that jerk who died was less cruel and greedy. But the boss is coming from behind saying this punk cut off his horns and now he's a hornless in defense mode. He launches a fireball. The poor mage girl tries to raise a barrier, but it's useless. Endo, on the other hand, dodges the attack while the others hit the ground. He grins at them, saying he's impressed they survived again and is excited to see how long that'll last. Suddenly the 2 change their tune, saying his offer is actually fair and they accept. Endo says, finally, and turns to the boss, saying it's been a while since he killed this creature. The monster though says he has no memory of ever being defeated by someone like him. The friends are also sure that's impossible because it seems like there was another update. And yeah, that's true. Now I'm confused. It seems this creature was so strong that after they updated it to this boss, they reverted to the old one. I'm not sure if I messed up the translation or what happened, but this boss was there before and now it's back. The monster comes to attack, but our boy lands a sword strike on the giant hammer, knocking it aside. The poor monster's confused, but Endo charges, saying even a level 50 would be shaken by a hit like that. He knows the trick. The creature tries another auto attack, but Endo seems to be reflecting the hits. He goes for the monster's back again, this time landing a clean slash right in its eye. From a distance the friends see this punk is actually making the creature retreat. They start cheering, begging him to win so they can all get out alive. Endo the jerk tells them to stop messing up his focus with their stupid cheering while he keeps dodging attacks. The boss says he may have good evasion skills, but the moment the first hit lands, he's done for. Suddenly, Endo's back hits a wall, and the boss says he's fallen into a trap and is now cornered. Out of respect, he wants to know the kid's final words, but Endo replies that for someone who hasn't landed a single hit, he's awfully confident. The monster starts charging a black flame attack, known as a fire that burns anything, a skill that could kill even a level 99 player. But it has a critical flaw. When it's activated, the user is left wide open. That's why, despite being a lethal skill, it's not that great. And this was the perfect chance for our boy. He starts bouncing from the wall to the hammer, wall to hammer, and gets behind the monster. Man, in a slick move, he steps on the ceiling and launches himself to the ground, landing a clean whip-like strike right in the middle of the monster's head. Obviously, this was the strategy he'd crafted to beat this creature, even at a low level, because when he landed that headshot, the black flame got trapped in the monster's mouth, and it starts disintegrating from the inside. Endo steps back saying, "See you in the next life," and the monster burns from the inside out. A moment later, there's the boss, charred to a crisp. The system announces that the unique creature has been defeated. The two survivors are thrilled, emotional that they've actually been saved, and the incredible thing is that the kid took down the boss without a single scratch. A message pops up saying he's the first player in the world to kill a unique creature, earning the title of First Slayer. Endo finds it weird. He didn't see this happen in the game, but when he checks it out, it's obviously legit. This title boosts his damage against bosses by 50%, and since he's the first to equip a title, he gets another one that lets him pick a sub-occupation, which seems like a secondary class or something. The system asks if he wants to accept the sub-occupation now, and he instantly says yes, but once he chooses a class, it can't be changed. He doesn't hesitate for a second, going straight for soulsmith, some kind of soul blacksmith I guess. Looks like that's the deal. The guy's eyes are sparkling, saying this class is perfect for making money. Now it's time to check out the dropped items. The girl behind him says she's heard the reward from this boss is a key to access the sewers, a perfect spot for low-level players to grind, level up easily, and get tons of items. The guy next to her says he's heard the same. It's a great place everyone wants to get into. Endo, holding the key, says they're right, but it's not that rare. The drop rate for this item is 100%, but the two friends notice he doesn't even care about the key, and realize their perspectives are totally different. That's when he shows off the podium dagger, saying this is a lucky item. He walks up to a fallen rock, places the dagger on it, and it slices through like butter. Man, it's like that hot knife challenge from YouTubers back in the day, remember that? What an old trend, my god. Endo checks the system and says it's still not enough. He just hopes the next materials will be easy to get. Sub-occupations, as the name suggests, are secondary roles. Some are useless, while others have extraordinary abilities, and of course the soulsmith he picked is one of the OP ones, right? Because everything in this world has a soul fragment, plants, minerals, humans, monsters, all of it. By collecting these materials you can strengthen anything. In all the time he played, this was the only occupation that could potentially beat the game. He activates the Soul Eye skill on his weapon, and the system says the item can be awakened with the Soulsmith ability, but he'd need a magical soul fragment. Our boy's eyeing the girl thinking she might be a mage, and the system confirms he can extract an F-rank soul fragment from her. But there's a catch. She'd need to enter a contract with him to avoid any side effects during the extraction. That's the condition. He stabs the ground with the dagger and asks if they want this little key to level up. Of course, the poor souls are all excited. Endo says they'd have to sign the contract, and he'd take any items they drop, but since he's feeling generous, he'll give them a discount on the fees so they can level up a ton. The suckers are thrilled, thanking him, calling him an angel on earth, but Endo just says no need to thank him. Obviously, since he made a contract with her, he gets the fragment. A little jar with a cap appears, and the Soulsmith ability activates. The dagger starts awakening, glowing in the sky, suddenly surrounded by purple energy. This boosts its damage and gives it the Soul Slash ability. I thought Soul Slash was like for hitting ghost monsters or something, but no. He swings his arm up, makes a small slash forward, and out of nowhere a forest appears. The whole place lights up like he opened a portal. The guy on the ground is wondering how a human could have this much power. On the other hand, Endo seems disappointed, saying this is the best he can do for now. At least he's got the bare minimum for the next step. As he turns to the girl, the poor thing's already shielding herself, but he just walks past her. Look at this crazy guy, off to pray for the players. Man, you helped kill everyone, you jerk. Oh, now it makes sense. He prayed and took the guy's money. What a scoundrel. The two friends are convinced this kid is more dangerous than the goat that wiped everyone out. Next scene, he's walking through a courtyard, approaching a well. Of course, the guy knows it's a secret dungeon. Great for low-level farming. Usually people come in groups of 3, 4, or 5, but with a dagger in hand, it's better to farm solo and faster. As he descends the stairs, a coin appears out of nowhere, and he slices it in half mid-air. Man, it's like the Matrix. 3 guys show up in front of him asking why another visitor's here, warning that unfortunately he'll have to go back up because this is their area. Endo, the farming king, pauses for a second and says he's not going back. He wants to know who decided this is their spot. The guy in front replies that in the game, the rules are simple: first come, first served. Endo tries to be nice and offers to point them to a better area for a group of 3 to farm, but they say they're not interested and like it here just fine. Of course, if he had some money, they'd let him farm for a bit. Endo gets the picture right away and asks how much they want. The leader says 50,000 for an hour seems fair. There are plenty of creatures here and he'd make way more than that. Endo agrees, saying to bring the 50,000, claiming he found some cash lying around recently. But I'm telling you, he's already planning to farm, get strong, kill these guys and take the money back. No way this capitalist is letting that cash stay in their hands. Here's the deal. He's already entering the wolf cave, surrounded on all sides. These aren't just any wolves, they're diamond wolves. Mid-level creatures perfect for making money, and this cave is the only place they spawn in groups. He could use Soul Slash and wipe them out fast, but the problem is if he gets attacked during its cooldown, so he's playing it cool for now. The wolves come at him, but he's easily ripping off heads and paws. Man, this kid's brutal. A little later, the poor wolves are ready for a barbecue, but here he comes with that tea box. What's up with that? There's gotta be a secret there, right? Just as he sits to rest, one of the guys sneaks up to punch him from behind. Lucky for Endo, he turns, blocks the attack, pulls out his dagger and nearly slits the guy's throat. The human dodges, but the slash causes an explosion in the ceiling. I think he used Soul Slash. The beefy guy says that was a close one, realizing the game's just started, but this weirdo's already a seasoned fighter. He says waiting for Endo to let his guard down after killing a creature when he's tired shows what a scumbag he is. The kind of person who only attacks when you're unprepared. The crazy guy just admits it, saying yeah, he loves catching people off guard. Endo's already figured out their plan from the start. Camp out in the best farming spot, wait for people to show up and rob them. The leader steps up, saying Endo finally gets it. I thought this leader was gonna be dumb enough to take the 50,000 and let the kid farm before killing him, but nope, the jerk came to collect. Endo says it's clear now why it's just them here, but they were idiots because he was ready for this. Since no other groups were farming here, he noticed their weapons. One guy's got brass knuckles with an acceleration skill that's dangerous. Another has a vibrating sword that can easily cut through any material. Anyone coming in unprepared would get wrecked, especially since the leader's wearing that ring. Endo's sure it'll complicate things. The captain says he'll apologize and offer a consolation prize, tossing a bunch of coins at Endo, obviously some kind of skill or trap. But Endo's capitalist soul wants to grab all the coins. This guy's a total beggar. The leader tells him he can take the coins and leave, but Endo's not that stupid. He knows it's the coin explosion ring. Guess what it does? I won't even explain, folks. He starts tossing his dagger up like a kid juggling at a traffic light, saying they made the mistake of hunting someone with a higher rank. The 3 close in, saying he talks a big game for someone about to die. Endo throws out one final taunt, saying even together they're not worth a single coin. The leader snaps, clicking his fingers to trigger the coin explosion. The guy with the brass knuckles and the one with the sword start closing in. The first guy swings a punch, but Endo sends him staggering back. At the same time, the sword guy comes from behind with the vibration. Oh man. Endo protects his masculinity, blocking the vibrating sword from behind, and lands a dagger strike to knock the knuckle guy aside. He says these jerks will pay dearly for what they're doing. The leader replies that he's got the perfect coin for that payment. Another snap and a ton of coins are flung at Endo, who has to run. Here comes the vibrating sword guy again, and Endo has to stop and defend. What the poor guy didn't expect is that his vibrating sword couldn't handle the toughness of Endo's dagger. Life lesson, folks, the bigger sword doesn't always win. It's about how you use it. He nearly cuts the sword guy's throat, and now the leader's watching. The leader's watching from a distance, saying things are getting tricky but still under control. The problem is, there's a kid with a clearly epic weapon, which shouldn't be happening this early. Like a good millionaire, the leader throws money to solve problems, but Endo's not gonna make it that easy. He dodges again, but right then the brass knuckles guy activates the acceleration skill Endo was worried about. Man, the explosion's so big that even the vibrating sword guy gets blasted back like an idiot. The dagger's spinning in the air and the knuckle guy's already celebrating, thinking Endo's done for, while the sword guy's pissed, saying he'll have to find another blade. The leader crouches, picks up the dagger from the ground and says it doesn't matter how good the weapon is if the user's trash. That's when Endo activates his soulbind skill. Chains start rising from the smoke, trapping two of the group members. Endo says the pain of having your soul bound by chains is way worse than they can imagine. The leader tries to use Endo's dagger, but obviously someone who only attacks with coin snaps doesn't know how to fight. Our boy grabs his arm and says he's way too slow, but the jerk had a bunch of coins hidden in his shirt and says they'll explode together. Endo activates the chains again, sealing the coins in the guy's ability. I thought he was gonna blow up inside his own shirt and have his torso disintegrated, but Soulbind also locks the guy's skills, so he couldn't do anything. Endo reveals the skill only works because of their huge level gap. Obviously the leader's freaked out. How's this possible? He's already level 7 and the game just started. Endo says for a beginner that's not bad at all. But now it's time to make more contracts. To get the soul of Adrian, the beefy guy, he needs to satisfy his hunger. For Aaron, the vibrating sword guy, Endo needs to help him find his sister. And for the leader, CK, he needs to put him in a state of deep fear. Of the 3 conditions, CK's is the only one Endo can complete now. CK's begging to be freed, saying the chains are choking him and he's gonna die. Endo touches the tip of the blade and says it'd be a shame if he died now. The guy's trembling, asking what he means. Endo says he'll have to rip out his eye, blood and all his internal organs in this new world of hunters and prey. It's easier to transplant and there'll be people needing stuff like that. Time to profit with good interest on those 50,000 he handed over. Aaron tells the leader to be careful, this kid's not right in the head and might actually do it. But Endo's thinking there's no way he's going through all that effort just for this. As soon as he says that the moment CK passes out, he'll extract everything, the guy apologizes, crying and begging, please don't do this. In that moment, he feels deep fear and the extraction is complete. Endo gets another F-rank mage soul fragment. The poor guy falls back, gasping for air. Then out come 3 sheets of paper and 3 pens. Not even a CEO carries this many contracts. Obviously the guys read them and are freaked out. What's this about giving 90% of their earnings in absolute obedience? But one glare from Endo, asking if they're gonna complain, and they say no, never. They'd never complain about this perfect contract. With the contracts signed, Endo congratulates them for joining his amazing organization, but warns that if they break any clause they'll end up in the hospital. He says he wants to find out who's coordinating them. CK starts to ask how he knows, but Endo says it's obvious, they wouldn't have gear this good if they were such trash players. Strangely, the guys start begging, saying they'll do anything but that. If their boss found out they were working for someone else, they'd be dead for sure. But Endo steps on CK's face and asks if he forgot who's in charge now. Poor Aaron, standing nearby, starts trembling and bolts, saying he's not doing this. But Endo warns he doesn't stand a chance, and once again he's trapped by chains. The 2 friends realize there's no escaping. The level gap between them and Endo is bigger than they thought. The girl's thinking the old world's laws don't apply to him, and at this moment he's sure no one can stop him. I mean, the kid's already level 36 and the game just started. These guys are doing okay at level 7, but the gap's way bigger than I expected. Now it makes sense, he should have beaten them even easier, but he only used 1 skill, so it wasn't too tough. Next scene, there's a kind of an amusement park, a circus going on, some fire stunts, and a guy on stage getting slapped and thrown to the ground. Man, the game's barely started, and there's already people in cages being enslaved. Humans are messed up, huh? These Homo sapiens aren't so sapiens after all. The bowl cut guy's smacking his hand, saying the jerk didn't even complete this simple mission and is just getting in the boss's way. The guy behind bars begs him to stop, saying the dude's about to die, but the other guy says he should only die to stop being a nuisance to the boss. Suddenly someone walks in asking what they're saying about him. Man, look at this guy's makeup. The game started today, and he's already thinking he's the Joker. Come back to reality, buddy. The clown goes over to the guy getting beaten and says he's suffered enough. He doesn't deserve this. He tells the bowl cut guy that he needs to understand the guild's losing power. No matter how incompetent someone is, you can't just beat them like that. Cut apologizes, trembling, and the guy goes to thank the boss. But of course it's all just a show. A whip cracks right across the skull. The Timu Joker says that's how you treat an incompetent animal and warns that any other animal in this organization who fails their job will meet the same fate. But then, another person shows up at the circus, and the clown's expression changes, saying he got here way too fast. Obviously it's the three beaten-up guys, saying they came to share some info. They got thrashed and could barely keep protecting that place. The clown notices CK isn't wearing the ring, and asks where it is. Man, what a mess, giving him a ring, huh? CK, all beat up, tries to explain that they got attacked, and the guy who showed up wasn't a player, he was a monster. But of course he gets a whip to the face. The Temu Joker's yelling, asking if they don't get the world they're living in now. It's ridiculous that he managed to gather so much trash in one guild. Adrian and Aaron are just standing there thinking the rest of the guild gave up because man, they got beaten so bad they quit. Now I'm confused. I keep saying first day, but what day are we on in this server? It's not the first, or was there a time skip? It said 3 days later somewhere, but I don't remember. As far as I know, the game started this morning. The protagonist ran out, hit the dungeon, and now we're here. Am I crazy? The guild guys are saying everyone quit after getting beaten up. Things move fast, I guess. The clown's yelling, telling Bowl Cut to bring some guy named Johnny-kun. Suddenly, a white tiger pounces. It looks more like a monster and breathes in CK's face. He's trembling, saying he won't survive if they let that thing loose. The clown says it's dinner time for the tiger. Oh man, the beast goes to take a bite out of CK, but a kid arrives at the circus. Cirque du Soleil style, man, animals have no rights here. He lands a kick to the tiger's head, sending it flying with a twisted neck. The Temu Joker calls him Johnny-kun, but who responds? Our dear Endo, saying he doesn't let anyone kill someone who's signed a contract with him because they're a valuable source of income. The Joker, though, talks to the tiger, who's got the saddest look I've ever seen on an animal's face. Meanwhile, the three losers ask Endo why he took so long. As he's about to say he was looking for money in this place, a whip comes at him from behind, but our boy, without even looking, does something, I don't know what, but the whole whip gets sliced in half. If I, the spectator, didn't get it, imagine the poor Joker shaking like crazy. Endo says he'll have to repeat it. He contracted these three, so the Joker's making a mistake. Bowl Cut asks if these three have no honor in their hearts. The boss took them in out of gratitude, but they're betraying everyone. Obviously, they reply, why would they feel gratitude toward a crazy boss like that? No one wants to work for this clown anymore. Endo says the message should be clear. He turns to the guys in the cage and says anyone who signs a contract with him will get protection. The poor souls ask if they'll at least be free from this hell, and Endo promises they will. But the sly dog's definitely gonna make them sign another 90% contract. Oh wait, he was humble, offering 50%. He's actually becoming a more honest man. This obviously pisses off the guys who signed 90% contracts, asking why they're getting less, but the Joker's not having it, asking what's this about stealing the rest of his subordinates. He says he'll have to kill everyone and send them to hell. He shows he's got authority over everyone with a guild master card. The clown's name is Andre, but no way I'm giving this jerk a name. Endo, though, doesn't seem surprised by the guy's card. The clown says the Japanese government itself gave him this item after all the devastation in Moscow. They're trying to organize everything quickly so some guild masters can form groups to tackle the dungeons. And he with this golden card is above it all. Not even the police can touch his plans. Endo says the government was quick to start handing these out while he was in the dungeon, but if he could just get one of those, it'd all be settled. The clown says it's not that easy to become a guild master. You'd need to be at least a certified B-rank player, but that's irrelevant since he's about to die. The guy starts shooting. Wait, what's a B-rank guy doing with a firearm? Bullets fly toward Endo, but obviously they're not gonna do anything. He pulls out that F-rank mage soul fragment and activates a soul barrier in front of him, a level 25 skill that requires a mage fragment to work. The Joker's like he's in Valorant, raising a barrier and unloading bullets to break it while giving a tired speech about Moscow falling and how he's the government's chosen one, blah blah blah. but Endo couldn't care less. He asks if the guy hasn't noticed that dungeon goers don't use firearms. How's this guy B rank? He probably scammed the government, right? No way. Endo just says he'll handle it and expands the barrier, smacking it right in the jerk's face. The Joker tries to hold his ground, but Endo's calmly walking forward, pinning him against the wall. When he's finally crushed, he can't do anything. The protagonist deactivates the skill and warns that since this all started, skills are far beyond weapons. He'd better stop thinking he can solve things with that kind of toy. The guys in the cage are freaking out, saying it's unbelievable something like this happened. Endo turns to them and says he'll give them one more chance to sign a contract and only pay 50%. Now everyone's eager. Obviously the kid's unbeatable and 50% is better than nothing since they're all stuck behind bars doing nothing. The battered Joker warns that the authorities won't let an unlicensed guy like him do whatever he wants. Endo just asks if it wasn't him who said power is everything now. A second later, after the Joker's silence, everyone's freed from the cages, standing face to face with him. The poor guy gets crushed while our boy thinks he's got a nice crew working for him now. Nothing better than these long-term investments that'll pay off forever. He checks the system and says it'd be perfect if he could finish the test while everyone's starting to panic. The system shows everything will be annihilated in 29 days and 23 hours. Man, there's already a building for the Players Association. There's that story about how when a bridge collapses in Japan they build two in its place. I think it's true. 2 days into the game and there's already a Players Association. These guys are fat. Our protagonist walking nearby while a group of friends chats, saying if you're a B-rank player, any guild's salary is insane. Another guy tells him to stop dreaming. B-rank is only for the top 1% in the country. Right now there are only 9 in the whole country. Endo walks off without a word. Now 2 weeks have passed since Prophecy Online became reality, so I guess the Japanese were really quick with this setup, because now we've got a proper timeline. The government offered a massive reward for anyone who could complete the 29-day test. Obviously tons of people tried their luck, but the results were disastrous. Soon after, it became mandatory for every player to register with the Players Association. If you weren't part of it, you couldn't take the test or get any government rewards. Walking down the street, Endo thinks there's a lot of money involved, and obviously he wants everyone's cash. But someone's watching him. He notices something approaching and dodges. The ground gets smashed. Everyone's confused, wondering why a signpost got lodged in the ground. Suddenly someone shouts that today he's not gonna lose. Oh man, it's Takuo from before. This guy doesn't give up on money. My kind of guy. Endo sees it's that idiot Takuo and says someone who died to a little punch shouldn't even try to become a hunter or they'll end up dying like a fool. But the guy's confident, saying he's not the same as before. Now he's got the most powerful class of all, Loancer. Endo replies that of course an idiot like him picked such a tough class. He's not gonna pull it off. Takuo asks what he's talking about and wants to know Endo's class. Endo says he's got a pretty awesome one called Beginner. Obviously the guy laughs, saying that's the same as having no class at all. No class at all. Endo just smiles, thinking he didn't lie. His class really is Beginner. Takuo pulls out the signpost and says enough's enough. It's time to get his money back once the kid's dead. He tries a flurry of thrusts with the signpost, but Endo sidesteps, dodging easily. Endo says he didn't want to cause this unnecessary mess right before the exam, but there's no chance for Takuo. Man, he just gives the guy a light tap and he's sent flying, hitting the ground, trembling all over. Endo says it's not even worth it. Inside the building, the girl says the exam fee will cost 8,000. A while later, he's there crying over the money he lost, and the woman approaches, saying it's time for his test. There he is, face to face with a massive crystal. If I had to bet $1 billion, I'd say he's gonna get an F rank or something even lower. He asks if he just has to put his hand on it. She says yes. He hesitates, a little shock sparks from his fingers. He places his hand and a dazzling glow lights up. The girl's floored, energy flowing, everything goes white. She's stunned. Next scene, she slams the desk, saying the results are in. Man, my bet was way off. This jerk actually landed an A rank right off the bat. She says he probably already knows, but players can change classes. There are some crazy ones like Sword Master, Magic Master, Really strong stuff, an archbishop, with his talent, he should pick one of those. But Endo says that while he'd love another class, the one he wants isn't available. She asks which one and the kid's ruthless, saying it's none of her business. What's with that attitude, man? She guesses he might need special class change items and asks if he wants the association to prepare him. He just tells her he'll collect them himself and not to worry. He asks if she's got anything else to say and the poor woman's trembling, wondering if his power won't cause problems later. He's confused and asks what she's talking about. She explains that his A-rank power is something they've never seen before. Man, just because I said he's got rank up power, but since he has no class, he's automatically classified internationally as an S-rank. Way too much to celebrate, huh? I was shocked, like damn. First time I've got a protagonist this strong right from the start, such a cliched jerk. She tries to explain there'll be restrictions. He can't form a guild, which is a big disadvantage. He turns away thinking these damn governments always make stupid rules, but his focus isn't on forming a guild. He could just take one of those money-making factories and become a guild master. There's a certain main class, the only one with the potential to beat this game, or at least the only one he beat it with, so he's not taking any other profession until he gets that one. He asks if even S-ranks don't get the 100 million yen bonus for completing the test. She says she'll explain something, but he cuts her off, saying it's no problem, it's perfect. She says she gets it, and will certify him as ranked. I fell for a double trap, folks. I thought it was gonna happen later, but I got fooled again. What a jerk. Outside, everyone's holding up signs trying to recruit people above C rank. He's laughing, saying everyone's struggling to get new recruits. Two girls approach, asking if he's a D rank and wants to join them. He says he's actually an S rank and they apologize, saying that's a bit below what they expected. As he walks around, he notices everyone wants high ranks. It's like a hot potato tossed away fast. Then he spots a peculiar guy in the back staring at him with a briefcase in hand, the kind of person you run from. But there he is, face to face. The guy calls out to Endo, asking if he's Wendy's son, and hands him a business card telling him to check out Genesis Wings. No last name, folks. Endo's just like, thanks, we're good. Weirdly, everyone around is amazed by this guy, one of the strongest guild members known as Fedorun. He's all embarrassed, explaining that was his old nickname. Obviously, Endo's mind goes straight to what matters, how to make money off this guy. He asks what the guy wants with him, and of course he gets an invitation. But look who's back. Takuo asking if anyone's looking for him. He's talking to someone, explaining that hiring a B rank like him won't be easy. Endo's impressed that Takuo got ranked B, probably threatened the examiner. No way. Embarrassed, the guy apologizes, saying he has no idea who Takuo is. Out of nowhere, Takuo grabs him by the collar, asking if he knows how strong he is, but Shinji instantly puts him in a chokehold, warning that the more time they waste on stupid talk, the closer they get to the hour of destruction. The jerk storms off, saying they'll come after him later, but he won't agree to be recruited. At a cafe, he asks again what they want with an E rank like him. But Shinji's no fool, and says he knows Endo's only E rank because he refused a class change. Endo immediately says it sounds like someone's leaking his personal info. Man, this world moves fast. He got his S rank, walked out, and this guy was already waiting with that info. Unbelievable. Did they call his phone? Makes sense. I forgot that phone exists. Shinji tells our boy the world's at stake, and the association can't afford to lose strong players. If Endo joins Genesis Wings, they'll pay him the same amount they spent to get his info. Of course, the greedy kid can't resist when he hears the offer's 10 linen. He's already imagining himself on his knees begging for that cash. But times have changed, and he says he's not interested in joining any guild. Shinji, a bit embarrassed, says he didn't expect someone like Endo to not be swayed by money. That's why he's offering some info. His guild has the backing of all government agencies, basically controlling the world's information hub. If Endo joined, he'd have access to that privileged network. Endo decides to take advantage, and asks if they have info on the only person who beat the game. Shinji says no one's done that. No one completed the game while it was active. Strangely, Endo's expression changes, and he says if that's the case, he's out. Shinji's a bit surprised but hands him a number, saying to call if he changes his mind, then leaves. He's wondering why the kid got so mad about something like that and decides to back off for now to avoid tarnishing the guild's image or ruining the relationship they're trying to build, because clearly there's no relationship yet. He's picturing Endo with a cup of coffee, implying it's tough to convince him of anything. Suddenly, Shinji puts a hand on his shoulder. The guy turns startled and Endo hands him a paper saying to call if he needs help, but accepting depends on the price. Shinji, a bit off, says fine, and our boy walks off. The scene shifts to the Genesis Wings headquarters, top floor in the Guildmaster's office. Shinji arrives, saying he's back. Hold up, folks. Finally is a badass lady showing up. She wants to know how it went, if they recruited the strongest beginner the association mentioned. Shinji just says that kid's a real monster, the first player to make him scared just by talking. The boss asks who's stronger between them. He hesitates, and she says his pause tells her everything. He apologizes to Miss Tsukino and she says it's fine, he's supposed to pass on all the info without hiding anything. It's no surprise to her that stronger people would eventually show up. This is our dear Yamagata Tsukino, the guildmaster, all casual businesswoman vibes. The story then shows the 10 transcendents, the top 10 beta test players who got paid. When the game became reality, everyone wanted to know who they were and get involved with them. Their knowledge was invaluable. She points out that him being there alone shows he failed to recruit the kid. Shinji tries to explain that strangely, the 10 million didn't even interest the guy, nor did the info. She says if he's one of the 10 transcendents, money and fame are already guaranteed. Shinji agrees but says it makes no sense for one of those 10 to stay a beginner on purpose. Plus he might be using a banned item to boost his stats during the analysis. Tsukino, though, says if that were true, Shinji wouldn't have been so scared. She trusts his judgment and believes if he's got that much faith in this kid, he could be one of the strongest in the world. Lastly, they need to remember that one of the 10 transcendents is unknown. Shinji confirms exactly, the number 1 player. The US used electronic intelligence and everything to identify the other 9, but all info on the top 1 was completely hidden. She explains there are rumors that the US actually knows who the top 1 is but is hiding it. Shinji says that he believed the rumor but now he's a bit unsure after meeting that guy. He could see the possibility that Endo might actually be the missing top 1. She slams the desk saying if that's the case and he believes it, it might be true. They need to inform all guild members that starting today no one can go against Endo. They have to be extremely careful in dealing with the person who was number 1. The guy just says, got it. A few weeks later, our boys rented a multi-million yen building to use as his guild's office, basically where his crew's gonna make bank. I want to know what he was doing during those weeks. He better have been farming, that greedy jerk. I'm mad. He's all about money. The crew's setting up a TV asking if it's good, and he says yeah. CK brings a briefcase full of cash, saying it's everyone's tribute. Endo grabs a stack and says the effort's worth it. His friend agrees, saying everything's going according to plan. The crew's chilling in the sewers, farming almost $1 million a day. Even the new slaves, or rather recruits, are making over 100,000. CK didn't expect joining Endo would pay off this much. Endo never lies about money. He said everyone would profit and it's not for nothing. The fee they pay him is just for the info. CK says it makes sense but thinks 90% is still steep. Unfortunately, he can't do anything since it's the best way to make money. He asks when they're gonna try the Earth test with only 10 days left and the reward bumped to 400 million. Endo says he'll wait a bit longer. Just then one of them turns on the TV and there's a report about the mission. As usual, everyone's hopes are low. Another reporter breaks the news that the government's upped the reward to 1 billion yen. Seems they've stopped caring about appearances and will pay whatever it takes to whoever beats it. Endo's thinking if he delays more, other guilds from outside might get involved in their mess. He grabs some clothes, saying it's time to get to work. Takuya asks if he's really going alone. Endo says of course, why would he risk his money-making factories? Weirdly, the poor guys are touched. Takuya says it's obvious Endo doesn't want to split $1 billion with anyone. Now the losers realize why they're being left behind. At the dungeon, there's a crowd of reporters and players at the gate. When the protagonist arrives, Shinji recognizes him. Endo walks past, saying he's making it clear he has no intention of cooperating with anyone. Shinji says it's a shame. He was about to offer a chance to make money. Endo turns, asking what he's gotta do. Shinji goes to a pile of military backpacks and says Endo needs to deliver them to the members inside. When asked what's in them, Shinji says provisions. Endo checks one and finds a chocolate bar. Shinji explains it's the guild master's favorite food. Endo's gotta take these backpacks to the deepest part of the Earth test, a camp at the entrance of the 5th layer. It's taking too long for them to conquer it, and they're running out of food. Shinji offers 100,000 and Endo finds it odd. Such a good offer would have been taken by tons of people, so why him? Shinji gets to the point Genesis Wings wants to show they're generous to Endo, plus he's in a tough spot. They've asked 39 other groups to deliver the backpacks but most gave up or got wiped out. Endo says loudly that the first 4 layers are just a silly test. The real deal starts at the 5th with the boss. Shinji realizes Endo has info they don't. He says it really feels like the game's labyrinth, and it's true that few groups reach the 5th layer and those who do are stuck waiting for supplies. Shinji says if Endo delivers in 1 day he'll get an extra 50 million. In the same second, Endo says it'll be there in an hour. The scene shifts to the 3rd layer, where a guy's fighting a giant praying mantis. Man, those things are creepy even when small. The poor guy's blocking attacks, telling his partner to run or she'll die. Seems they're a couple. She calls him love and says she can't abandon him. He just thanks her for everything and says it's better if she goes. She screams for Michael saying he can't die there. Suddenly someone zooms past without stopping, yelling for the weirdos to get out of his way because he's in a hurry. The couple tries to thank him but when they look again the kid's already far ahead. A little later he's at the entrance to the 5th layer. Only 42 minutes have passed, and considering he's earning 150 million for this, being a delivery guy isn't so bad. I'm telling you it's all about the info kings. A blonde guy asks if he's the Endo they sent, probably right. Once again that amazing tool called a cell phone comes into play. Our boy tosses a giant backpack saying they're probably from Genesis Wings. He's there to finish his delivery job and obviously collect the fur at 150 million. The guy tells him to chill, the money was transferred as soon as he started running. When Endo checks his phone, there it is. They sent it right away. He thanks them for doing business, and says it was a great job. The blonde guy says everyone's celebrating because they were starving in there. Resources start getting distributed but amid the joy of grabbing food, Endo explains that unfortunately they've already lost tons of people there. Suddenly some guys come running, shoving each other, tripping over the ground shouting that they're finally safe, but a shock hits the cave and from a cloud of smoke a swarm of insects appears. Endo prepares to attack, but a blaze of flames shoots past. Man, she's way tougher as a hunter. Our boy recognizes it, a top-tier class with a secret skill called hellfire slash. He didn't expect to find someone who knows this kind of secret in a place like this. The badass approaches, greeting Endo Ria with a smile, loting herself as the famous Yamagata Tsukino guildmaster of Genesis Wings. Our boy's giving her an intense look and she's returning it with her crimson eyes until she trips like an idiot. What a mess. No way, she's the ultimate badass. Obviously she's all clumsy, just the type for suckers to fall for. She apologizes, saying she's tripping from hunger since she hasn't eaten in days. Endo knows she's not lying given the chaos over the supplies he brought. Later in a tent he talks to her and asks if she's the strongest there. She says yes, but even as the weakest of the 10 transcendents, she's still strong. He asks what's this embarrassing 10 transcendents thing. Blushing, she stands up saying she didn't pick that dumb name. It's what they called the top 10 players when it was still a game. He asks who decided that and she says a group of US investigators picked the names. The only person no one knows is the legendary number 1. They contacted all the top 10 to give them rewards, so it's weird they didn't reach out to him. Obviously the reward talk gets Endo excited, and he wants to know how much she got. She says it depends on where you live, but she got 1 million yen. Endo remembers that 1 million he got when he started playing and hit the top, back when it was a game. which got him addicted, made him quit his job, and then got him hunted by Takuo. But he starts realizing it doesn't make sense that these people are so obsessed with finding the strongest. Maybe he should keep it under wraps for now. He asks if that's really all she got, saying it's small compared to what you can earn by clearing dungeons. She says yeah, that million's nothing compared to the info she got from playing, though it's not helping her much against this place's boss. Endo asks if even the top 10 can't clear this test. She explains that no matter how many skills she has, she's still human. With top-tier gear like in the game, she'd have a shot, but in their current situation it's slim. He slams the table, saying he gets it, he's done his mission. If she's got anything else to say, spit it out. He's leaving. He's thinking he needs to kill this boss fast before someone else does and snag that billion yen. But she shouts from her chair, asking if he really won't help anyone there kill the boss. The guild members seem hesitant, telling her not to say stuff like that. They'll manage without this guy's help. The leader turns, warning that all hostile actions against Endo are forbidden. They need to remember that. She gets that they think he's weird and understands how they feel, but they have to remember the people they've already lost in this fight. The round-faced girl slashes the monster's leg, but it does no damage. The team collapsed on the ground, says the front lines have already fallen. She orders everyone to retreat, but some lunatics wanting to stay, saying they can't give up now after coming so far and losing people. She responds that's exactly why they need to retreat before more are lost. The idiot tries to argue, but the boss grabs him by the stomach. Tsukino can't do anything but watch him get devoured. Now in the present, she says they need all the help they can get to finish this quickly. The group's awkward. No one can say anything while she's giving a passionate speech about how finishing the Earth test will bring peace back to Japan. The only way to honor their fallen comrades. Everyone's emotional. Even Endo, who's heading out, says she's giving this speech, but he doesn't want anyone slowing him down. Plus he's killing this boss solo. I thought she'd be pissed, but she's impressed by his confidence, wondering if he really thinks he can win alone. She has no idea how he'll fight, but she's about to find out. Suddenly, a loudmouth asks if he'd take requests depending on the reward. Tsukino says she wants to join the boss fight. The greedy kid's already thinking if there's a chance to profit, he can't pass it up. He turns and says she's not joining for the reward, right? A bit embarrassed, she says she knows they'd only get in his way, but they want to fight to avenge their dead friends. He can keep the money as an inconvenience fee, but Endo's unstoppable, saying besides the reward he wants 10 million from each person joining the fight, half paid up front, or he doesn't want to see their faces. The group's getting roasted, wanting to kill the kid, but Tsukino agrees, saying the deal's done. They're hesitant, but she orders everyone to get ready. They're moving out. Endo's celebrating. Man, the crazier he gets, the more he can celebrate. Suddenly a strange sound echoes through the cave, and everyone turns. Another insect attack's coming, but this one's way bigger. Tsukino activates her hellfire power, saying no one's leaving alive today. The insects are all catching fire. Our boy's impressed, saying she's not half bad. She sheathes her sword. Man, I didn't even see the slash, this girl's the real deal. She tells Endo it's time to move forward. He shows he got the deposits, so obviously he can finally finish this. He takes the lead, carefree, while the rest of the team struggles to kill the giant worms. The bald guy's complaining to the leader, saying this kid's doing nothing. He thought Endo had crazy skills, but he's just walking straight, one-shotting insects. The leader says that's even more impressive. Just look, most monsters die in one hit. The round-faced girl's watching Endo, smitten, saying he doesn't make a single unnecessary move. With him around, maybe the boss is doable. A while later, they're at the 5th layer in front of the boss door. It's been a while since Endo's seen this. The healer girl's helping the bald guy, who's trembling, just standing at the door. Man, you better not go in there, but Tsukino steps forward, saying to follow her, those wanting to avenge their friends' deaths. It's time. They charge in and come face to face with the boss. A red spider in the sky. Everyone's firing off flame skills, jumping, explosions going off. They're hyped. Endo yells for them to focus. Nothing's happened yet. Tsukino barely dodges a swipe. They notice none of their attacks did any damage, which is weird since insect-type bosses are supposed to be weak to fire. Endo says they're right. It is weak to fire, but their fire's too weak. Right then the spider launches an attack at Tsukino. I thought it was the perfect chance for Endo to save her, but she just dodges and retreats, warning the team to be careful because its web's sticky. Now our boy steps in to save the randos caught in the attack. Obviously he can't lose cash in a situation like this. The guy in the cap's thanking him, but Endo just tells him to stop getting in the way. If he dies, Endo loses the chance to collect another 5 million from the payment. The guy's stunned that he was only saved for money. Seems Endo made a deal with Tsukino too. Every time he saves someone from death he gets more cash. He's thinking about dragging it out to keep saving people, but he could make a ton from this guild and doesn't want to ruin the relationship on a chance like this. Plus, there's something very important. On the screen, Tsukino says he could get an S-rank sword soul fragment, but the condition is to give her the biggest surprise of her life. Man, that's gonna have to be something big. He decides to make a flashy move, leaping toward the boss, activating the awakened dagger's attack and slicing off the first leg. The monster tries to retaliate, lifting a rock and slamming it into the ground. Everyone covers their eyes as the area fills with smoke. They call out for him, fearing he's dead, but obviously with his crazy high level he's easily blocking the hit. He's using a strength soul fragment to pull it off, but with all the employees he has, it's not that hard. Before anyone can figure out what's happening, he suddenly grabs the boss's legs, spins it, and hurls it into the wall on the other side. In a second he's face to face with it, saying this is the monster's weak point. A precise slash rips through its belly and the group in the back is already celebrating. He warns they never stood a chance. This fight's just getting started. Suddenly a strange red gas pours from the boss's belly, rising into the sky. No one can see anything and the boss is surrounded by red lightning and dark energy. Everyone notices it not only regenerated but grew even bigger. Endo says now it's in its second form, way tougher than the first. The group's confused. If they couldn't handle the first form, how are they supposed to beat this one? Endo, ever humble, says they're right. They're too weak and don't stand a chance. He activates a soul chain, runs to the side and leaps over the boss's body, aiming for its head. This is the soul incineration circle skill, which requires level 40 and a ton of soul fragments. Tsukino sees it's about to blow and yells for everyone to run. Endo unleashes a flame skill, raising his dagger to finish it off, while the rest of the group, using their own fire skills, feels the massive power gap between them. Our boy's facing a giant blaze head-on while the group's nervous, begging for it to be over. One of them shouts to look. A bunch of crystals appeared in front of them. They've never seen anything this big in any dungeon. But Endo just tells them to get away. Obviously the idiots think he's hogging it all, but the crystal's shape reveals it's actually the boss's final form, the real challenge of the Earth test. At least he's sure if he kills this damn thing he won't go hungry for life. The group's on edge and Tsukino tells them to prepare and stay alert. But her warning's useless. A diamond whip lashes out, knocking everyone back. She dodges but notices it's faster than before. An attack from afar heads straight for her. I thought our Chad would save her, but this girl's too empowered. She dodges everything. No man's help needed. Damn it. Let him save you. Endo warns that in this final form the boss attacks without thinking, so she and the group should flee. Even if he prevents deaths, it'll just slow progress. He blocks an attack with his dagger, but it does no damage. The boss is even laughing at him, all cute-like. But Endo expected this. He leaps up again, saying he needs to create a weak point, activating Soul Reserve. The group, hiding behind a rock and a barrier, wonders what he's doing. Our boy's all evil, purple eyes, dark aura. As the boss's attack closes in, he was waiting for this. The attack hits dead on, piercing his stomach and going through him. The group's horrified, they don't stand a chance. Tsukino thinks he's done for, and man, he's stuck there like laundry on a clothesline. You better have a plan, damn it, but he's holding on, resisting the monster's attack, saying he finally caught it. Even the boss is freaked out by his craziness. Endo activates Soul Barrage, the same slash from his first awakening, but now a flurry of attacks. The strikes slice through, turning the beast into a pile of diamond shards. An explosion rocks the place, and as crystals rain down, he knew it'd hurt like hell but didn't expect to nearly die. The system says he had 3.32 seconds of soul reserve left. If he didn't recover within the effect's duration, His soul protection would have been removed, and he'd have died. Right then all the group's healers are casting spells and our boy's there surrounded and on the ground, messing with the system while everyone tends to him. He gets up, thanking them for the help, saying thanks to everyone he didn't have to spend anything extra. He puts love into his wounds, and seeing the holes close, he thanks them for having skilled healers. Tsukino, though, asks if he intentionally took those hits. Our boy says taking a direct hit and not dying is a basic skill in Prophecy Online. The group's shocked, man, that made sense when it was a game, but now it's reality. He should know if he died, there's no coming back. He says that makes sense, but as far as he knows, if the game mirrors reality, the strategies that work there will work here too. Tsukino realizes this kid's strong but clearly not right in the head. Endo opens his inventory, saying he's got a way to surprise her. The system announces the Earth test was completed successfully. He can list the names of those who participated in the subjugation. A message says the dungeon ends in 5 minutes. Everyone celebrates, saying Endo really did it. Japan's finally saved and they're safe. He says he needs a little favor before claiming the rewards. He promised to take everything, but he wants Tsukino to receive the leader's reward in his place and then deposit it. She's confused and asks why. He explains he wants her to get the credit for clearing the dungeon and have her name in the news. It wouldn't look good for a classless beginner to have done it. But if the news says a guild struggled hard, lost tons of members and still won, the government will definitely pay more. He's really thinking about that, but also doesn't want his name spread everywhere. Tsukino asks if money's the only reason. As a guild leader it'd be good, but taking credit like that isn't their style. Endo says no problem. Just say Genesis Wings hired him for 1 billion and it's settled. Embarrassed she agrees, saying they'll announce Genesis Wings completed the test. The group that defeated the boss is registered. Endo knows there's no guarantee others in the guild won't leak the truth, but only someone wanting to leave would do that, since those staying will benefit greatly from being part of the group that stopped Japan's destruction. The test is complete. Helicopters fly over, telling them to look. The test area is collapsing, and players are evacuating. A magic circle appears at the cave's ceiling, pulling everyone out. They land outside, hugging and crying, emotional, saying they never thought they'd make it. Tsukino celebrates that it's finally over, and the dungeon's plaque records that Genesis Wings conquered the Earth test. Reporters swarm in for interviews, wanting to know how it happened. The victors are up front, and Tsukino turns to ask Endo if they can really take the credit, but obviously the kid's already gone. The blonde guy says he left a message. If you've got any money-making ideas, just contact me. The team's surrounded by 1 million reporters wanting info. The blonde guy tries to calm them, but it's Tsukino, the leader, who speaks. She announces her guild as the ones who completed the test. Broadcast not just in Japan but worldwide. Meanwhile, Endo's workers come to pick him up. The guild's stuck giving interviews, bowing and all that. Reporters think she's too humble, saying it was thanks to many people's help. Seeing her little smile, Endo drives off, saying she'll handle it well. He could have profited big by taking the spotlight, but he doesn't want the media on his tail everywhere. Maybe it's time to prepare another face to deal with the public, like a stand-in. News, photos and interviews flood every TV channel. In a meeting room with a 350-inch TV, the mood's not exactly festive. Meanwhile, at the money-making guild, obviously only one owner fits that name. The damn Endo, who just got his billion. The friends are saying the leader got filthy rich out of nowhere. Another says not to think too hard about it. This jerk won't give a cent. Weirdly, they're sticking 500 yen coins together, wondering what they've been up to lately. Endo tells them not to question it. His orders are absolute. He turns and asks if Rumi's guild is set up yet. That girl from the start, the one he saved, shows up, a bit off, asking if he's sure of going to be the guild master. Look at that little admin card. Damn, Roshimiya Rumi, leader of the Gold Farm Guild. He explains it's gotta be this way because he's just a simple guy who can't have a guild. She says there are more qualified people in the guild, but Endo says she's the perfect choice. Since the start he's been passing info and items to these folks, and everyone's climbing to at least B rank, but obviously, like anywhere, some stand out more than others. Rumi's a perfect example of someone not born for dungeons, but who gets along with everyone. Why do these jerks like her so much? As always, man, we're in a world where info spreads faster than anything. There's already news online that she's the guildmaster. Since most members are B rank, it's drawing a ton of attention. Seikei wants to know why Endo wants to build a guild alone when he can clear any dungeon. Endo explains it's not like he can just enter any dungeon. These so-called world tests will keep happening. Some affect countries, continents, or cities, and most require government access or connections. That's why having a guild helps him. Rumi hands him a tablet with a list of ongoing tests with solid rewards. Endo pulls out a paper saying they're actually doing this one first. It's the mansion test worth 5.4 million yen. She finds it odd since there seem to be better options with similar difficulty. The friends are suspicious, wondering if greedy Endo's chasing maximum profit. But Rumi's sure there's something they're not seeing if he chose it. He says of course, and she'd better not mess up any of the orders. Embarrassed, she says she understands and will read everything carefully. Later in the car she calls, saying the mission was accepted, and the reward's 5.4 million. He says good job and they'll arrive in 30 minutes. Our boy gets a message on another phone. Man, this guy's got no lover, hiding from who with all these smartphones. A guild member says they're monitoring the tests, and some suspicious people entered. Endo asks, how many, and the guy says 5. Endo says he's got it and will handle the rest. It's time to start hiding his face with an enigmatic mask. The system prompts him to select materials and he picks a D-rank sword fragment, but the success rate's 0.23% for auto-generation. The sly dog says he'll do it manually. The system warns that failing manually will cause mental damage, but he accepts. He's transferred to the soul world, where he must harmonize souls to boost the success rate based on his alignment. It's like a puzzle or a labyrinth. He's got 60 minutes moving pieces here and there, 11 minutes, 7 minutes, 5 seconds, and at 0 he completes the cube, raising the success rate from 0.23% to 100%. He returns to the material world, and the mask is crafted. He tells Ryan in the front seat to drop him off, steps out calmly and puts on the mask, completely changing his appearance. Soon after, he enters the dungeon. Some creatures are already defeated and burned, clearly fresh. He's sure someone passed through before him. He follows a path and a door opens in a bookshelf with flying books revealing a hidden entrance. That's a problem. Someone else knows about this. These tests are categorized by risk: continental, national, or city level. The smaller the scale, the easier, but the rewards are lower. Secret tests, though, are exceptions, generated within low-scale tests. They're far tougher but offer better rewards. Heading down a staircase, he says whoever's here has a lot of info. He stops when he faces a group of 5 hooded people. I thought they'd look like villains, but this white-haired guy seems friendly, asking if he's from the Gold Farm Guild, saying they were waiting for him. Endo finds it weird and asks what's this about the Gold Farm Guild. The guy's confused, saying he thought Endo was from it, but whatever. Just by looking at him, the guy starts chatting. Cut off, warning he's not helping anyone pass this test. The white-haired guy responds that it's not necessary since they've already cleared it. He guesses Endo's probably there for the evolution box too. Man, Endo's already gripping a sword behind his back, asking what they'll do if he is after it. Out of nowhere, the guy tosses the item to him, saying he can keep it as a chance to get closer, but in return he wants Endo to do something for them. Endo asks what, and the guy says he wants Endo to stop a certain test from being completed. They don't care how he does it, and with his info he shouldn't have trouble eliminating the group trying to finish that place. Endo's confused, wondering why they're stopping a test like that out of the blue. He asks if they're from the Black Guild, suggesting they're trying to pull the same stunt as in Argentina. Endo explains that 2 weeks ago Mendoza, a major Argentine city, failed an easy challenge and was destroyed. Coincidentally, a bunch of people bet on that country's companies crashing in the financial market and made a fortune. Now these guys are mixing dungeons with the stock market, and Endo thinks they're planning the same thing to profit. The white-haired guy says Endo can let his imagination run wild but wants to know if he'll accept the deal. Endo of course refuses, saying it's tempting but he'd only take it if he's the one making all the money. The guy says that's a shame and tells him to return the box. Plus, from now on they'll start collecting interest from him. His life. Endo's confused, but the guy says after hearing and talking about their plan, Endo has two choices: cooperate or die. Endo draws his blade, asking if they really think they can beat him. The guy says in normal circumstances, maybe not, but since they just cleared this secret test, Endo shouldn't underestimate them. He stabs a needle into his neck, saying he'll show why a player's skills are useless against the Black Guild. And it's not just him. Everyone in the guild's hopped up going crazy on some drug. The guy's turning purple, laughing like a maniac, while Endo just waits to see what they'll do. Apparently even Endo doesn't recognize this doping item. He's observing, trying to spot changes, but notices nothing. Suddenly he looks at the box and says he'll go along with this part of the plan. The group calms for a second. One of them presses a device's button, and the evolution box in Endo's hand explodes. Everyone's laughing, thinking he's an idiot. The leader approaches, saying it's funny how players die to simple traps like this. All they needed was to distract him with the box. It's a pity they couldn't use him as a pawn. But when the smoke clears, Endo's not there. Just the box remains. In the same instant, everyone's struck from behind. The white-haired guy unleashes flames, but it's hitting his allies more than Endo. Still, he's grinning, saying Endo will burn to death. But the protagonist's already behind him. Dagger to his throat, saying he's not bad but still has no chance. The soul chain skill activates and the guy's desperate to know how Endo moved after that explosion. Endo says the moment he held the evolution box, it felt off, way heavier than normal. The guy asks why he took it knowing that, and Endo says they're underestimating high-level players. An explosive small enough to fit in that box couldn't do anything to him, but for the damage they caused, he's gonna drain their bank accounts. He calls Rumi, telling her to check the investment market and find where people are betting on Japan's stock crashes. He needs the exact locations of those companies because they'll have to protect them. The guy laughs, asking if Endo's playing hero. But we know this jerk's no hero. Endo says if they're betting on those stocks crashing, it means their prices are low, so he'll buy them all and make a fortune. The white-haired guy calls him a capitalist and says it's too cruel, warning that going against the entire Black Guild is a serious life risk. But Endo just says for money he would make anyone in the world an enemy. But it's clear they'd have to cooperate with him. The guys obviously say they won't cooperate at all. Endo asks Rumi if the re-education course is ready, picturing a bunch of torture devices. She says yes but isn't sure if it's ready to use. He tells her not to worry about the details, he's got someone eager to take the test. Then our boy opens the evolution box and the sorcerer fragment evolves to E rank. Man, he's not that strong for an S rank, but we gotta remember, he was the former number one, the only one to beat the game. Of course he's a beast. A while later at an art museum, one of the targets, Rumi, confirms he can trust the group's honest response after being interrogated all afternoon. But she thinks it's risky and asks if he's really going alone. He says yes and tells her to focus on something more important than his life, the stock market, where he needs to make big money. Actually, this museum's become one of the tests. Let's call them dungeons, since that's what they are. Right then, a guy posts on social media looking for the group. That same idiot, Takrisa, is in the crowd shouting that the team to conquer this place is about to set off. He's the leader of the group called Takrisa. Endo, nearby in disguise, is impressed there are over 100 players. Takrisa thanks everyone for showing up to protect the country, since this isn't one of those dungeons where, if they fail, monsters invade the city out of nowhere. Endo's amazed there are over 100 players. The problem is the Black Guild's probably got spies mixed in. It might be smart to find them before things kick off. Takrisa tells them to charge and call for him if they find a strong enemy. Endo's thrilled there's no strategy so he can act freely. Now that he knows who the spy is, he just needs to wait for the right moment to set up an ambush. Man, out of the 107 people here, he's the only one not a spy. That explains why so many showed up. Japan's screwed, huh? No honest soul except our boy who's not even honest, just in it for the money. Damn Japan, you're in trouble. Everyone's playing along with Takrisa telling them to move carefully, watch out, blah blah blah. Inside the museum, it's still a museum even as a dungeon, but in a second, Endo's surrounded by 4 people with spray cans. They shake them, what the hell, and try to set him on fire. Obviously he leaps back and in a second he's thrashing who knows how many. He finds it funny they came at him so fast. Suddenly Takrisa runs up, asking what's going on. Endo says he was attacked out of nowhere and had to defend himself. The leader apologizes, asking if he's okay, but then tries to stab him. With 2 fingers, Endo stops the attack. The leader realizes he screwed up and gets flung back but manages to stand. Endo's pissed. They dared attack him with a knife. That's not even a game item, just some store-bought junk. He says enough hiding. He knows everyone here is from the Black Guild. Takrisa thanks him for dropping the act, but some guys in the back ask what this Black Guild nonsense is. They heard the mission was to protect this place from some weird environmental organization. The leader realizes his plan's leaking and switches tactics, asking why Endo doesn't join them. Their mission isn't to kill him, just to protect the place. If they avoid fighting, it's better for both sides, and if Endo wants, they could talk to the higher-ups to get him 50,000, 100,000 a day. Not a bad deal. The group grumbles, saying their reward's only 30,000, but Endo apologizes, saying he has to decline. He's playing the stock market, which is way more lucrative. The leader says that's sad, because now Endo has to die. He announces that whoever lands the first hit, deals the most damage, or fights best against Endo will get 100,000. Instantly the whole group charges, desperate and blinded by money. But man, they came at him with buckets, with bare hands. Endo's taking them out with slaps to the neck. The leader's coming, didn't even bother designing his attack properly, so you know what happens. He takes a knee to the face and hits the ground. Endo claps his hands, saying it's settled. The remaining players getting up begging for their lives to be spared. Phone to his ear, our boy says he's got another 100 people to farm money for him in this world. Rumi understands immediately and asks if these 100 are going through the re-education course. He says it's not that serious, only one rebellious leader needs to go through it. Out of nowhere, a purple sword flies in, striking the middle of the hall. Endo dodges and stepping back, spots someone on the second floor. He comments that the little rat finally showed up, taking his sweet time. CK asks if he already knew, and Endo says of course, these guys were too weak to handle him, so he knew there had to be a backup plan. Plus in the crowd this guy's aura was way different. The guy responds that now it makes sense why he couldn't find an opening, then charges, saying he wants to see how long Endo can handle an honest beating. Sword clashes against dagger, deflecting, dodging, energy exploding. The guy comes at him again and Endo responds, but now a sword slices through his mask. Endo says he's finally found someone from his time in the game and reveals he knows the guy is Yuto. Yuto says it's an honor to meet Endo but a shame they're meeting like this, as now he has to kill him. I just noticed this guy's using a Star Wars style lightsaber, don't ask why I didn't see it before, but come on man, you're no Jedi, wake up. With his identity exposed, Endo removes the mask, and asks if Yuto really thinks he can win. Endo activates his dual blade user skill, charging forward saying he has no choice but to end it here. He uses super acceleration. Man, Yuto's fast, lands a whip-like strike on Endo's shoulder that he couldn't dodge. He's attacking so quickly the artist can't even draw a proper frame, just a bunch of sparkles. But Endo activates Soul Eye, a level 38 skill, and sees Yuto's got decent stats. Yuto tries a backstab but Endo blocks again. Before Yuto can react, he takes a kick to the chest, crashing into the wall, spitting blood. Endo mocks him, saying speed's useless if the blade's strike is weak. He uses the Soul Chain skill again. Yuto says it shouldn't work given their level gap, but Endo says he's not getting it. The level difference between them is massive. Endo asks why Yuto, a skilled player, doesn't ditch the Black Guild and make money with him. With his skills it'd be easy. Yuto says he can't. Endo asks why, but Yuto says he can't say. Endo snaps his fingers, and Yuto starts writhing but still won't talk, only saying he can't reveal anything about that person. Endo says he's starting to understand and asks where Risashi is, assuming he's not giving info because Risashi's being held hostage. Yuto's expression changes, admitting Endo figured it out. He collapses, apologizing. Professi Online was a game with a bad rep for its insane difficulty. Basically anyone who played wanted to quit because it was so frustrating, constantly dying. The toughest areas were practically empty with no one to team up with. Many frontline players knew each other, and that's how Endo learned about Yuto and his younger brother Risashi. By the end of the game, Endo got too strong to bother teaming up with them, but they still chat. Back in the present, Yuto says he never imagined they'd meet like this after that silence. Endo demands to know where Risashi is. Yuto lowers his head, saying he really doesn't know. They didn't even give him the location. On his knees he asks if Endo's subclass is Soul Blacksmith and if he can locate his brother. Endo stands, saying he does have the skill, but this isn't a game anymore, it's the real world. And in the real world, if you want something done, you throw money at it. If Yuto hands over everything he's got, Endo might consider it. Yuto, crying, says fine, he just wants Risashi saved. Endo asks for an item to track him and Yuto hands over a cap. Endo uses Soul Search for Risashi Maeda, but the system says the target wasn't found, he's already dead. Damn. That's rough. Endo breaks the bad news, saying the killer was a guy named Raven. Yuto, furious, pounds the ground, saying that's the bastard who was holding his brother hostage and forcing him to work. Now obviously Yuto swears he'll kill that guy. He immediately tells our boy he'll work for him, earn whatever money he wants, and the only thing he asks in return is help to kill Raven. Endo says he's pretty pissed about Risashi's death too, since he was like a little brother. Poor Yuto smiles, but Endo tells him not to get ahead of himself. He walks off, saying he's got money to make right now and can't get into a fight where he'll only lose. Man, this kid's harsh capitalism really corrupts a man's soul. Then he gets a message asking if it's true he faced the Black Guild at the museum test. From the chocolate bar photo, you know it's her. The badass. She's making an offer and he wants to know what it is. She says the government's paying $1 billion to whoever takes down the Black Guild's headquarters. He's confused, asking where this request came from. It's not for him, it's for Genesis Wings. She told him because he's the real deal. He asks if it's okay to leak info and she says it's only because it's him. Plus she's sharing a secret: the Black Guild has over 10 million in resources stashed. If they take these guys out and claim they found nothing, they could profit big. Now the game's changed. He turns to Yuto, asking if Raven's at the Black Guild's main base. Yuto says yes. He's the leader of the Japanese branch, super cautious, rarely leaving the base. Endo grins, saying he's changed his mind. It's time to avenge the brother, because this world's too cruel to let these villains live. Next scene, he's heading to the location. Tsukino was about to send the coordinates, but he's already ahead. She's surprised, asking how he knew. The government just told her. He says he's got his sources and asks if she needs help. She asks him to support the police, since they wouldn't stand a chance against players. She offers 100,000 for each Black Guild member he captures, and another 100,000 for each cop he protects. She says she'll try to get the government to pay, but if not, they will. He tells Yuto to stay put. Everyone thinks he's dead, so it's a good chance to hide. Yuto agrees but begs Endo to be careful. In front of the building where the base is, I thought it'd be a stealthy investigation, but it's packed with reporters, police tape and all. Wait, it's confusing. One guy tells him not to enter due to a gas leak. Endo says he's with Genesis Wings and the guy lets him through. He goes to a table announcing the supports arrived, but a strategist turns and says they don't need help from an inexperienced player in real situations like this. He tells Endo to stay put and not mess things up. He orders the police team to prepare for the advance. From afar, Endo suggests it's better not to try that. Suddenly the upper floor explodes, debris flying toward everyone. Endo goes all angelic, Sailor Moon style, with sparkles, using soul threads to weave a golden Spider-Man web to catch the rocks, keeping everyone safe. He waves to the guys and leaps to the building's top. As expected, he finds a bunch of soldiers down on the ground. The idiot who said they didn't need help is there begging for no one to die since each one's worth 100,000 to Endo's bank account. Channeling Spider-Man, he wraps up the soldiers and brings them down. He waves saying his job's done, then goes to Yuto saying the work's finished and grabs a juice. He asks where the other bases are. Yuto says that's the only one he knows. While working for them, he got some items and phone messages, but nothing else. Endo says it's fine, he's got an area he's suspicious of. Yuto says with so many people hunting him, it'd have to be somewhere cameras aren't an issue, and strong players don't show up. Endo asks if a deserted dungeon with bad rewards wouldn't be perfect. Yuto says exactly. Endo says his guild, Gold Farmers, is already looking into it. Yuto, confused, asks what kind of guild name that is. Endo says they better respect it, and since Yuto's definitely part of it now, he'd better start making money. Yuto says fine, but wants to know where the rest of the guild is to fight. Our boy says they've got more important things to do back at the office. Everyone's stacking coins, truly vital work. Endo gets a message from Rumi saying after all the analysis only one dungeon perfectly fits the criteria. It doesn't even have an official address, so she marked it on the map. Yuto recognizes it as the Flesh Pool Castle. Perfect for a base since it has spawn points, meaning monsters respawn after you kill them, letting you keep farming. Ideal for hiding and leveling up. Endo asks if Yuto prepared what he asked for. Yuto says of course, a car that can supposedly handle any terrain. Honestly man, it looks more like a city SUV. You should have gotten a monster truck or a pickup. Endo hops in and tells him to floor it. If they get a ticket he'll pay, just don't crash into anyone. You're no healer. You jerk. Following the GPS with Yuto giving directions, Endo activates his mask and rockets up the mountain. Man, it's like a Hot Wheels track. This hunter's car is wild. Turns out he activated a skill to float and reduce impacts. Yuto's having a blast, but Endo's the one struggling to keep up. They arrive at the Flesh Pool Castle. Endo tells Yuto not to forget the bags they'll need to carry. Yuto asks what's in them, obviously, weapons to deal with a big group like this. At the castle's entrance a group's on guard and two more are prepping behind trees. They pull up to the gate and Endo says it'd be nice if a woman showed up. Yuto tells him to stop dreaming. No man's showing up, let alone a woman. The friend laughs saying he knows what he'll do with his money. The boys are eager to get in and finish this, but Endo confirms these are the guys from the old base, definitely Black Guild. He asks how they usually guard places. Yuto says he doesn't know, at the last base they acted like an office with no literal guards. Here they destroyed the other bridges and set up a barrier around the wall, concentrating all firepower at this one entrance to handle any threat. That way they only worry about one entry point. Endo says it won't be easy, at least 30 guys, enough to guard any place in the region. Yuto says it doesn't matter if they're weak, but there are at least 3 people as strong or stronger than him. Jack, Cloak and Raven, who Endo already knows. Endo smiles, saying this might actually be fun. The only issue is he doesn't want anyone escaping mid-fight, each capture's worth a fortune. Yuto asks if he's doing this just for money and Endo asks if there's any other reason. He asks if Raven's fast enough to slip away in the chaos. Yuto's expression shifts. Considering they killed his brother, no way he wants any of them alive. Endo thanks him, saying not to worry, he'll get Genesis wings to block the door so no one escapes, but they'll have to hold the guys until they arrive. Yuto asks if it's just the 2 of them, and Endo says, of course they're more than enough. He messages Tsukino saying it's time to start Operation Lockdown. She gets it instantly. Yuto activates acceleration and charges across the bridge. The guards at the gate are distracted and man, Yuto's on another level, slicing arms and legs off everyone. This kid's a beast. If it was Endo he'd probably just slap their necks to rack up more cash. Endo drops the bag and says it's time to prepare. Suddenly he scatters coins around the exit, saying now they just wait for the rest to come out. Right then the desperate enemies charge and Endo activates you know what's coming. An explosion of coins like a heist from a movie. The poor saps are flung everywhere. Bodies flying up and down. He says there's nothing better than wiping out the weak like this. Amid the smoke, no one can see and Endo's merciless now. When it comes to killing villains, these 2 don't mess around man. They grinning and all, but suddenly the vibe shifts. Yuto's turning his back on Endo when, in a split second, his head's lopped off. Yuto asks if Endo's distracted for missing something so obvious. Endo says he's saving some tricks, since he doesn't want anyone watching on those cameras to see him, but that felt like enough provocation. He readies an attack, slices through a camera broadcasting to a packed room where Raven's watching, saying they're coming for them now. A woman stands, saying one of them is the traitor Maneda Yuto, but she has no clue who the other is. The guy on the left says they're checking national data, but there's no info. Raven's curious, wondering how that damn Yuto found out about his brother's death. Flashback to Risashi complaining to Raven, asking about the next mission. Raven asks if things haven't been too easy so far. Risashi says it's not about difficulty, he doesn't get why they have to kill people like this. Raven explains it's a job from someone rich, they just follow orders. Risashi refuses. Raven insists it's simple. A job comes, they kill, they get paid. Risashi asks why they're targeting Genesis wings. Raven says he's got some crazy ideas, but Risashi insists the person they're after is a friend, a kind healer no one hates. He sees no reason to kill them, unless the plan is to destroy Genesis wings. He figures they're targeting a healer because they're vital to a guild and easy to kill. Raven says he's overthinking and asks what he'd gain from killing someone weak, but Risashi throws the plan in his face, saying Raven's trying to sabotage the test. He knows Japan relies heavily on Genesis wings. If they're destroyed, test progress would stall and the Black Guild would profit. Raven says the kid's smarter than he expected. Just a shame he phrases things wrong. They don't want to destroy Genesis wings, but all of Japan, they want another national test to fail. As Risashi tries to argue something's wrong, his legs caught. Raven says his opinion doesn't matter, his life ends here. He activates Shadow Prison, a power like Endo's chains. Risashi warns that if he dies, his brother will be uncontrollable even for Raven. The Black Guild leader says Yuto's easy to handle. Risashi tries to speak, but Raven pulls a spear, saying it's fine, he'll die and no one will know. A direct hit to the chest pins the kid to the wall. Back to the present. An old man says that's why he wanted to keep Risashi captive. They lost their leverage over Yuto. This guy's cloak. Raven says it was a special case. The kid was talking too much, and the Black Guild can't let info leak. The old man agrees, saying all he wants is Japan destroyed. A big payday and a quiet life in a resort. Maybe Hawaii or the Maldives. A blonde kid, Jack, says the old man's going too far and should pick hobbies better suited for his toy collection. The old man tells him to shut up and a fight starts. Raven tells everyone to calm down. The woman says they need a plan fast. Their guys sent to hold the intruders are dying one by one. Raven stands saying he'll handle it but to warn the boss. As Raven, Jack and Cloak walk down a corridor, they wonder if it takes all three of them to deal with two weirdos. Raven tells them not to underestimate the targets. Even a cornered rat can beat a cat and they're at a disadvantage since they don't know the blonde guy's power. Out of nowhere, Jack spins his spear, slams it into the ground and says he'll kill them both. Outside, the grunts are all dead on the ground. Endo's impressed, they keep coming. Yuto tells him to chill, not even half have shown up. But then they hear footsteps behind them. Turning, they see Raven approaching. Endo asks what's up, and Yuto immediately says there he is, the bastard who killed his brother. Raven spreads his arms and says, he's got that attack, probably knows everything that happened. Yuto confirms he's there to avenge Risashi, but when he tries to activate super acceleration, it's on a 3-hour cooldown. Man, you should have saved that skill. No worries though, he charges across the bridge, closing in fast and handling business without the power, pure grit. Endo notices his friends lost his cool, but for now he lets Yuto do what he wants to see how he holds up. Problem is, mid-air Jack interrupts with an aerial slash. Our wannabe Jedi asks who did that, looking over to see the damn culprits. Jack says anyone who steps here is just asking to die. Cloak, licking his sword, says it's bold of Jack to talk like that about someone avenging their brother. Yuto replies that both of them showing up means they're taking this seriously. I mean, you're invading their base, killing everyone, wouldn't they be worried if they weren't serious? Endo asks who these two are and if he should blast them with coins, but Yuto ignores him, turning to Raven and asking why Risashi was killed. The leader says it was no big deal. The rat tried to bite the master and had to be put down. Yuto asks if it was just for defying him. Raven says obviously a useless animal gets incinerated. Yuto's about to lose it, getting attacked from both sides, but Endo steps in, landing a hit. I thought he'd chopped off the old man's head, but since it's still attached, guess not. Yuto seizes the opening Endo created, charging at Raven again. Raven warns that without his acceleration, Yuto can't win. A spear swipe creates an ice fortress, but don't underestimate our Jedi. He pulls the most Jedi move ever, combining both blades for a massive slash. The overheated explosion melts the ice easily. Both are grinning, saying the other fell into their trap. Endo, watching from the side, senses something's off. He launches coins, activating a skill that flies right in front of Yuto, knocking him back. Yuto asks why, but Endo says he needs to pay attention. He has no idea what would have happened otherwise. Yuto notices where he was thrown. A massive ice pillar would have crushed him if Endo's explosion hadn't pushed him away. Endo tells him not to die like that. He's still got a lot of money to make for him. Plus, if Yuto dies, revenge becomes impossible, and Endo's ensuring victory. Raven says he doesn't recognize Endo and asks if he's the one who messed things up at the museum. Endo, dodging and fighting the goons, tells him not to make false accusations. Raven asks why he's opposing the Black Guild, risking so much for someone weak like Yuto. Endo says the obvious, for money, duh. Raven's confused, asking if he's really making an enemy of the Black Guild just for that. Man, I'm starting to think our boy loves money more than normal. That class change thing, I'm betting it's related. Whatever class he's aiming for probably costs like 50 billion, 20 billion. You know? That's why he's so obsessed with cash. It's the only thing that makes sense. He's effortlessly taking down the two goons, saying nothing in this world's more important than money. He'll profit from destroying this base, just like they killed Rizashi to protect the Black Guild's profits. Today Raven's dying so Endo can cash in. Suddenly it's all anime style. Endo activates Soul Limit Break. I thought he used it on himself, but it's a buff for Yuto. The system asks if Yuto accepts the power, warning of side effects. Yuto agrees and True Soul activates, resetting all skill cooldowns and giving him a temporary buff from Endo. Endo grins, saying now Yuto's got a shot. A pillar of light shoots into the sky as Yuto activates acceleration. Raven doesn't seem phased, launching a spinning attack. But Yuto's dodging head-on. Raven asks if Yuto forgot he knows his moves best. Even with Yuto's impressive dual-blade speed, he has 3 weaknesses. Raven stabs, saying the worst is Yuto's short range. Yuto's shocked Raven can keep up with his speed. Raven says the second issue is Yuto's attacks lack power. One hit sends Yuto reeling, hand trembling from last. He unleashes another ice blast at the ground, saying Yuto's worst problem is his skill's time limit. Once his acceleration runs out, victory's guaranteed. Yuto focuses. Knowing it's true, he lacks the strength to beat Raven, but he won't give up. He's wary of Raven's reverse skill, which counters damage by sending it back. Yuto decides to charge before Raven can use it. Raven's pulled back, wondering how this is possible. Yuto says he doesn't know either, but it's clearly from the buff Endo gave him. Right then Raven does what Yuto feared, activates reverse and lands a direct hit to Yuto's chest. Yuto slams into the wall, spitting blood like a desperado. Raven says he can now join his brother, but water surges from behind. Raven barely dodges a sword that embeds in the wall. Yuto turns, telling Endo not to interfere. His chance is coming, but Endo's just supporting, telling Yuto to use it now. Yuto pulls the sword from the wall and before Raven can react, stabs him in the chest, saying he learned daggers from Rei. Raven writhes, and when Yuto yanks the blade out, Raven faceplants. Yuto smiles, saying he finally avenged Rizashi, remembering everything they went through. The system announces the soul limit break effect has ended, and Yuto's health will now drop. All he wanted was to beat this guy with his own moves. Endo says Yuto won this almost solo. He just gave a little help. Yuto smiles, asking about Jack and Cloak. Endo says he took them out ages ago. They're knocked out on the ground. A few minutes earlier Endo was having fun watching Yuto's fight, ignoring those two while they shouted from the back, begging not to be forgotten. Jack tried activating Death Aura, sending a massive slash Endo's way, trapping him in a dark path. The kid was floating, unleashing giant scribbles. Endo dodged, but the old man attacked from behind, saying Endo can't dodge mid-air, but as always, Endo vanished, leaving the artist stunned. He finished Jack instantly, appearing behind the old man, saying only an idiot throws weapons from a distance mid-fight. Yuto laughs, saying he expected an instant wipeout. Endo says, obviously, the power gap's huge. Jack apologizes, saying he can't move, but then another guy appears, straight out of Minecraft, saying he thought that trash could beat Raven. Endo's impressed the Black Guild's reinforcements arrived before Genesis Wings, which he made sure to notify earlier. He's thrilled, each of the 20 or so guys is worth 100,000 a head. He draws his sword, saying this dungeon's a gold mine. Thank God they didn't tell me this guy's name. He's already on the ground crying. Endo says he's shocked, the guy was way weaker than he looked. Then the cars roll in, Genesis Wings, after everything's done taking forever. Endo removes his mask, saying it's time to drop the disguise. At least Genesis Wings has Tsukino, who's well drawn. She praises him, unable to believe they won alone. Endo says those guys were easy. She asks about the friend he mentioned, and he points to the ground. Poor Yuto, she sees it wasn't so easy for normal people. Tsukino says Genesis Wings will start locking this place down. Endo says it's pointless, just kill them all, they're criminals. Yuto agrees, but she refuses, saying Endo's the commander here, and they'll follow his orders out of respect. Suddenly someone claps from the back, telling everyone to listen. Tsukino already set these rules, so they'd better follow. That's Uchino Yurita, another welcome friend. A guy tells her to stop meddling, and they start arguing. Endo tells everyone to shut up. These guys' strength was in numbers. To stop escapes, they need to surround the place. They'll only block exits, not invade. If anyone wants to leave, let them. Bongino and Baldi insist their plan's better, asking for a show of hands to agree, but man, nobody wants to go against Endo, huh? Everyone stays quiet. Bongino's complaining to Tsukino, but she just says the rules set obey the damn guy. Endo notices something off and tells Yuto to keep an eye on those two. Night falls and they've set up a camp in front of the base. Slowly the Black Guild guys are getting caught. Man, it's a full-on barbecue, what the hell? The enemies are all locked up inside while Endo's crew is outside eating marshmallows. Endo's even got an apron saying his info about requesting reinforcements leaked since enemies arrived first. He says they'll chill here, eating and stalling while the guys inside starved dungeons don't have food, so they'll come out eventually and get hauled to jail. Yuto agrees, saying the Flesh Pool Castle plan is perfect. Endo says the barbecue was Genesis Wings' idea. The girls say peak performance in battle needs good food and rest. The two guild moms are treating these guys like kids. Suddenly Tsukino senses something, warning that two suspicious people are approaching. Endo stands, saying he'll handle it, but Yuto says they're just two guys, no need to stress. Endo says in this new world, quality trumps quantity. Better 100 weaklings than one strong guy. He asks Yuto if he knows who's above Raven in the hierarchy. Yuto says yes, Beta, Gamma and Alpha. Man, they're missing Sigma. Where's our American Psycho? They get footage of two guys running through the forest. Endo recognizes their faces, saying they might be Beta and Gamma, though he's not sure. The last one, Alpha, must be inside the castle with a red pill syndrome, calling himself Alpha and requesting reinforcements. Tsukino, all gorgeous, asks if they want her to take one out. Her plan, she takes one, Endo takes another and the team handles the last. Yuto warns they need to be careful, especially with Alpha. He's the weirdest. Endo asks if stronger enemies yield bigger rewards. She says no, the reward's the same per head. He says that's lame. Genesis Wings should keep killing weaklings. He tells Yuto to watch the area. Later Tsukino and Yuto prepare to confront the guys, but a scream echoes in the forest, birds scattering. She tells everyone to fall back, but a guy charges through, smashing walls and leaving a train track-like path. There he is, purple hair, saying he didn't expect total annihilation. Tsukino says these guys won't be easy. As Yuto says he'll handle one, she says no way. She's taking both. She unleashes a flaming wave at them, but they just cross their arms, taking the hit. Strangely, a peculiar guy on the roof says that's rude. They shouldn't mess with Tsukino. Yup, definitely a villain who loves tormenting women. Her clan's impressed by her attack, leaving a blaze. She's all anime gorgeous, saying her flame cyclone isn't meant for humans. But mid-speech one guy leaps from the flames, charging her. She blocks the first attack. He praises her, saying she's not bad for a guild leader. Another attacks from below, but Yoshino blocks it. Damn girl, stopping two huge swords with that tiny dagger, you're efficient. The guy praises her strength, saying the women are dominating, major empowerment in this guild. Tsukino thanks him, but the guy in front warns that if her friend hadn't stepped in, she'd be dead. Transcendents like her are skilled against monsters but weak against players. She tells him to stop underestimating her. He has no idea how far above him they are. He lunges, saying he's not just experienced in fighting but in killing. He activates a skill mid-air, pulling a needle from his nose or mouth, who knows, hitting her shoulder. She falls, yanking it out, but it's poisoned, and now her vision's warped. It's a deadly poison. Healers rush in casting cures, but even with 2 heals, the poison's spreading across her face. Yuto's freaking out. Why isn't it working? The guy says it's useless now. I want to know who's beta and who's gamma. I think this one's beta, right? The pale guy's beta, and he says no one's got the guts to stop this poison. Tsukino stabs her sword into the ground, saying fine, if that's how it is, she'll just take him out before the poison spreads. She launches another attack at beta, but he just laughs, saying her strength's impressive, just a shame she doesn't know how to use it against people. He moves to strike, but she counters with another flame cyclone. He keeps laughing, saying it's pointless, but then someone comes from behind with a massive hammer, smashing Beta's spine and pinning him to the ground. Not sure how the jerk got up, but his arm's wrecked now. He tries to retreat, but another blow comes from behind. Genesis Wing's crew, a girl with a spear, another with a bow, and a little guy with a sword no one cares about. 3 precise strikes hit Beta's back, and he's done for, collapsing dead. With that, the poison's automatically removed. That's how it works in this game world. The big guy praises Tsukino, saying her distraction plan worked. She says of course the strength of Genesis Wings isn't in individual. Meanwhile, Yuto's fighting the other guy, probably Gamma, who's getting trashed and wondering how this traitor got so strong when he's supposed to be inferior. The problem is that damn girl, Yoshino Yori, always interfering. She's an elite thief. 28, unmarried, lives in Musashino, part of a theater group. Man, why do we have all this info? Are we getting it now? I'm confused. This guy's a dangerous stalker, kill him quick. Gamma's struggling, knowing if he doesn't end this fast, he's dead. As he takes a hit to the head from behind, he activates Mud Tempest, knocking Yuto and Yoshino aside. He tries to retreat, but Spider-Man strikes again. Endo's light beams appear. I thought it was him, but it's Yoshino Yori. She traps Gamma in a cocoon and activates Soul Thread Incineration. Damn, she roasted him. Endo's praising her, but I'm confused. Did he use a skill to mask his own, like she pretended it was her? Man, she's badass. Oh, it makes sense. Endo swapped visuals with her using a mask effect. Now she's thrashing the guy, saying it's too much to keep pretending she's Endo. Baldy's confused, demanding an explanation. She says it's her special skill, visual swap. The name says it all. Endo says it was her and Tsukino's idea, working better than expected since he's no expert in human combat. He turns, saying only one's left, and calls for Alpha to come down. The guy with crazy hair asks if he's Endo Rei and tells him not to get cocky. Just because he took out weaklings doesn't mean their fate's changing. Alpha leaps down, grabs his sword and unleashes a ground blast. Endo jumps back and everyone retreats. Yoshino's blushing in Yuto's arms. Naughty girl. The guy sends a digital-looking attack over Endo, nearly catching him. These guys who summon tons of swords are usually strong. He says Endo won't escape this time, but Endo's dodging everything, using soul something to slice through the sword attack and dispel it. Still, Alpha rises into the sky, swords swirling around him, praising Endo for blocking his attack on the first try. No surprise from the guy who cleared the earth test. The girls are confused about this sword-flying maniac. Endo recognizes it, a combo of Spirit Berserker and Invisible Soul Hand, a skill creating clones that deal insane damage. He warns Tsukino that Alpha's moves burn tons of mana, so he'll target healers to avoid a drawn-out fight. They need protection. Alpha nearly hits Endo, saying knowing the plan won't help. Endo's dodging, but he's struggling this time. The Spirit Berserker class is one of the strongest early game, and Alpha, that damn guy, keeps running while from after. Man, he's got the tanker's buffs and all. Endo tells them to watch closely. He's not losing. It might look like he's being pressured, but he's dodging every fatal blow. Yuto's observing the energy while Alpha wonders how this jerk's surviving. He lands a direct hit to Endo's chest, telling him to stop being annoying, summoning a ton more swords, grabbing one, and saying it's time to end this. He activates Spirit Lord, sending 50 blades at Endo. The kid just says it's tedious. The ground explodes, but Endo's already in the sky, summoning a little dragon. Everyone's freaking out, wondering how he's got something like that. Man, our boy's got a soul servant, and tells the snake there's plenty of food for it. Alpha's not impressed, saying a snake won't change the fight. Poor guy, he's got no chance. Every time Endo takes damage, the healers patch him up instantly, but one warns that the damage he's taking is more than they can heal. Alpha laughs, saying Endo will finally understand the Spirit Berserker class's power. He can't compete with a beginner's main class. Tsukino yells for the healers to ramp up the cures. Alpha notices something odd, the snakes twitching, and suddenly a bunch more appear. Endo says that's what happens when you feed it too much. In a flurry, Alpha's swords are destroyed. Endo praises the snake's work while Alpha charges again. Endo says the main course has arrived. Alpha stops mid-air, pissed at being called food, launching another attack, saying Endo will regret that in this life and the next. He creates a spirit territory, shredding Endo's snake into 1,000 pieces. I was sure Alpha won, but Endo knows this skill sacrifices sword range for quantity, draining the user's HP. He's certain Alpha's snake won't outlast his, so Alpha must have another target. Right then an attack comes from behind, but Yuto saves Endo. The attack came from Bonzinho and Baldi. Yuto says the bastards finally showed their true colors. Endo smacks the back of their necks and they pass out instantly. Alpha's behind Endo, but he ducks, dodges, and stabs Alpha's shoulder. The jerk collapses like trash, trembling, asking how Endo dodged a perfect surprise attack. Endo says there's no such thing as a perfect attack. He knew those two were spies from the start. Alpha, spitting blood, says he'll regret making the Black Guild his enemy. Endo cuts him off. The main forces of the Black Guild in Japan are done, and now it's time to collect rewards. Later, Endo's got the captives labeled with their bounties and leaves with boxes of gold to be transported. His guild friends say the load's on the truck. He tells them to take it, turns to Tsukino and says he's done. She can keep what's in the castle. She says he took everything, so there's nothing left. He asks if she wants some white powder he found. She declines, saying she's good. Man, this kid's offering drugs to her. What's wrong with his head? Next, we're back at Gold Farmers. Rumi says the mission rewards in the account, and for their government support they're getting a direct assistant. Endo knows a government assistant is more like a watchdog, and wants no part of it. Rumi asks what they'll do with the ton of gold. Obviously they can't admit it came from the castle, or the government will demand it. A woman in a tight skirt appears, asking if he's Wen's son. He turns, asking who she is. She asks if he doesn't recognize her. They met when he took the hunter classification exam. I barely remember this chick. He apologizes, saying he doesn't recall anything that didn't make him money. She says it's fine and introduces herself as Sakuma Misa. Oh, now it clicks. The girl from behind the counter. Endo just wants to know if she's here to give him money. She says yes, exactly. She's been sent by the Japanese government as his assistant, meaning she'll work hard for free, no cost to him. He says free workers are a dime a dozen. He's got plenty, but she insists can do anything and asks if that's enough. Everyone's blushing, wondering if anything really means anything. The poor girl, so innocent, says she can clean floors, handle resource deals that can't go public, search for explosives or weapons, or cover up illegal activities. What the heck? Is this girl from the government or the mafia? Now Endo's intrigued, asking if she could, for example, launder tons of gold bars without the government or anyone knowing. She says yes, just leave it somewhere for the government to find, label it as contraband, sell it, and funnel the money into his account. If they do it as a special reward commission for the Hunters Association, it's all clean. She gives a sly look, asking if he's up to test it, but Endo turns, saying he doesn't trust her one bit. The poor thing's persistent, offering $5 billion upfront if he takes the deal to prove their honesty. He asks if she can really do that. She says yes. It's an amount she can move without even contacting the government. In 10 minutes it's in his account. He starts a timer, saying she's got 10 minutes. 10 minutes pass and Rumi confirms 5 billion hit the account straight from the Hunters Association. The miniskirt innocent asks if he now sees her power, she'll be super useful. Next scene, the gold bar deal's being handled. She hands him a tablet with the info. He praises her, saying she's actually useful and welcomes her to the Gold Farmers Guild. But he's got a question, what's the government's real goal? She says it's obvious, so she'll be honest. They want to stop foreign nations from hiring Japan's hunters. That's how players rank up. Offers come from all over. Endo, being blunt, says if another country makes him an offer, he's gone that same day, so they'd better ensure he's paid well. She playfully taps his head, saying fine, she'll make sure of it. 10 minutes later, Rumi brings a stack of papers, saying her job's now processing documents and selecting next month's missions. Misa accepts, showing she's a hard worker, office chatter and all. Later, Misa calls Endo, saying she checked the missions and none have been registered in the last 4 days. Endo finds this suspicious and orders her to confirm with the government, dropping everything else. She grabs a wand from a drawer, remote telepathy. Huh? Wait, isn't that what phones are for? Okay, it makes sense. Her telepathy broadcasts everything at once and captures info. Not sure about its limits, but she says all authorities confirmed. No missions registered in 4 days, not even on surveillance satellites, and it's happening in other countries too. Endo says this is a sign of massive missions coming. He tells them to grab all available missions now because it'll be a while before another pops up. A window appears for everyone, announcing a new large-scale mission, the Waterfall Test. They've got 90 days to defeat the boss or the entire mission area, Asia, gets wiped out. Rumi asks what they'll do since they've got smaller missions ongoing. The jerk, as always, says to wait. The closer to the deadline, the higher the payout for completing it. The guild overhears, realizing this guy only cares about money and is willing to risk a whole continent for it. He even says if the reward's good enough, they'll ditch Asia and go elsewhere. Rumi, horrified, says abandoning Asia means Japan's destroyed. Why let that happen? He says nothing's decided. It depends on the reward. He tells her to prepare because big contracts are coming and they'll compete with guilds worldwide. Their strength alone won't cut it for this mission. Genesis Wings isn't a bad option, but there might be others who'd cooperate for less. A week later, Misa brings info. The first contracts appeared with 500 million per mission, totaling 70 billion. The missions are in 5 places: America, Africa, Europe, Asia, and Australia. Man, no little mission in Brazil. What's this prejudice? Seems like the only places accepting private contracts are Australia and Asia. Basically open to help. Hearing 70 billion already put a grin on the sly dog's face. He says large-scale missions are on another level. In the end, they're partnering with Genesis Wings, since Tsukino's handling negotiations and she always ends up with nothing. Actually, this time the contract's 70% for them, 30% for Tsukino, who's just smiling at our boy. Poor guy's in love but screwed, cares more about money than women. Well, he's not wrong, right? If the woman leaves, the money stays. But if the money goes, does the woman stay? Something to think about. Endo asks how other countries' preparations and power levels compare. Misa explains it's hard to know since foreign guilds operate differently. They're packed with weak players taking tons of low-level missions, farming non-stop. Guilds like Gold Farmers and Genesis, full of strong players, are rare. Plus, the whereabouts of other transcendents are mostly unknown. There's a rumor about a guy in Thailand who cleared a national-level dungeon. Whoa, is the mighty badass coming? Misa's hyped, saying the international meeting's in 2 weeks, and they'll prep with max info to get a head start. 2 weeks pass and their in-line place is packed. Oddly, only 4 teams want to participate. Wait, packed with what then? NPCs, man. Why aren't these international guilds interested in 70 billion? Misa says 10 guilds showed interest but couldn't muster enough players. For large-scale missions, numbers matter. Plus, strong players already live well. Why risk it? Tsukino says it makes sense. They struggle to find volunteers in their guild too. She asks how many gold farmers are going. Yuto says, obviously everyone. If it's about money, they're all in or they're kicked out. He asks Misa if they stand a chance against the other teams. Blau Evo Girl, no idea how to say that, and Black Dragon. She says the weirdly named one's a renowned international guild, basically guaranteed for the Australia mission. For Asia, they'll compete with Black Dragon, who've never cleared a national dungeon. so they don't seem like much. Rumi says with Genesis Wings, who cleared a national dungeon before, it should be easy. But Misa's face suggests it won't be that simple. During the meeting, a guy with a fan's eyeing Endo, either trying to be intimidating or wanting something else super weird. The Australia mission contract goes to Blau Evo Girl, who are all shiny and grateful. Next, it's time to discuss the Asia mission. The Japanese reps go first. Tsukino gives a speech about gold farmers, Genesis Wings, and their prior national dungeon clear. Everyone's clapping, impressed. Endo's grinning. Her pitch seems solid. Now it's about how the other team presents. The fan guy thanks Tsukino for her incredibly dull presentation and struts up, saying he'll wake the room. He says healers are the toughest part of any group. Research shows 70% of dungeon deaths are healers. Man, where are the tankers to protect these kids? His group doesn't rely on healers, calling them useless and prone to dying. They've got only sword masters, spear masters, and fist masters, all using an aura to shield themselves from unnecessary damage. Back when the game existed, they used a similar setup to clear a national dungeon, Storm Test, and also won the Abyss Test and Eastlands Test. Though they lack experience with the Waterfall Test, he's confident their methods will work. The crowd's all smiles, but Endo says they're done for. Tsukino argues a team without healers won't work for a continental mission. Endo responds that depending on the mission, it could work. For the Abyss Test, it's the best strategy, but for the Waterfall Test, it's a terrible choice. They'd all die. The Black Dragon's explanation wraps up and the meeting's about to start to decide who gets the dungeon contract. Our boy's already leaving, but people ask him to wait, saying they have data and there's no way a team that can't win would be chosen. He just says it doesn't matter, they'll come out on top anyway. But then the fan guy shows up asking if the losers are already bailing. Endo asks what he means, and the guy says he didn't think anyone else would dare register besides them. Tsukino snaps, calling him big mouth since the results aren't even out. He reveals the decision was made before the meeting, long before they stepped foot here. Endo asks if he paid someone off. The guy says you never know, but they should be grateful. It's ridiculous they'd go to a dungeon like this with a healer and a woman as leader. Everyone would avoid a dumb death. Man, this guy doesn't know who he's talking to. Gonna cry when he's sliced in half. Tsukino says he's clearly arrogant and not too bright. He should drop the mission instead of being reckless and getting killed. The guy loses it, telling her to stop underestimating Black Dragon. He starts activating something, but Endo steps in, telling him to stay still. The guy didn't even notice Endo approach. Endo apologizes for his team, saying they'll stop since there's no point arguing if they share the same opinion. They just needed to read the recruitment rules. When one team loses, the other takes over and gets the full contract, plus a bonus for the shorter time. Endo thanks him, saying there's nothing better than getting paid more for the same work. The Black Dragon guy laughs, saying it's a hilarious group, a guild full of women and another called Money Farmers. What a joke. But they should know Black Dragon won't fail. His only regret is not letting them go first to die. It'd be better watching a pathetic Japanese guild wipe out. Man, this guy's begging to get shredded. The results are announced, and the Waterfall Test contract goes to Black Dragon. The guy smirks, and Endo congratulates him, asking him to stall and fail so they can swoop in at the end for a fat reward. The guy turns, calling Endo ridiculous, and leaves. In another room, Tsukino asks what they'll do. Go back to Japan and wait. Endo says they're heading to China, close to the Waterfall Test, perfect for when those guys fail. He tells Misa to buy tickets, the cheapest possible. She says they should focus on the safest ones. Suddenly a blonde walks in with a request. Everyone's confused, wondering who this crazy chick is. She introduces herself as Mari from Blau Evo Girl, that guild with the weird name. Seems all players have a shared language skill, so even if she's speaking something Germanic, she can talk with Japanese players and vice versa. Mari says she wants them to take over Blau Evo Girl's mission. Misa says that's odd. Blau Evo Girl has 3 of the 10 transcendents, it shouldn't be hard for them. Endo asks if something happened after they signed the contract. Mari says yes. He says he can help if she follows the famous Japanese saying even hell's judgment depends on money. The team knows she's about to get extorted, but oddly she's excited, saying if Endo's paid well, he'll do the job. Later, in another room, they announce the Japanese team's arrival. A guy introduces himself as Daniel Keller, the MIT, clearly the Blau Evo Girl leader. Tsukino doesn't introduce herself, nor does Endo, who seems to recognize her as one of the 10 transcendents, saying it's a pleasure to meet her again. God, what a polite, annoying guy. shut up. He gets to the point about the Australia Continental mission accident, saying they won't take it anymore, need their help, and will obviously claim credit for completing it. Endo asks why they're suddenly dropping this mission after getting authorization. Daniel says there's no hiding it, so he'll be honest. 2 of their 3 transcendent members were bought out by the US. Man, everyone knew they were eyeing them, but he didn't expect them to jump ship at a time like this. Endo asks if he thinks 1 transcendental isn't enough. Daniel says definitely not, at least 2 are needed for a mission like this, which is why they need help. Endo says he seems cautious but won't complain as long as he gets billions. He turns to Tsukino asking her opinion. She apologizes, saying Genesis Wings won't participate. Her members are terrified of continental missions. The Earth test was hell with tons of deaths, and now no one's signing up for anything outside Asia. Endo says gold farmers will take it, but the problem is they don't have enough people. Numbers are crucial for the desert test, at least 200 B-rank players, and his guild doesn't even have half that. But he knows Blauvogel is a famous mercenary guild. If they could provide those 150 B-rank players, he'd consider giving them 10% of the reward. Daniel apologizes, saying they can't lend players like that. Whenever they join missions, they send commanders who take risks, provide support, and pull people out if it goes south. Endo says it's impossible then. Daniel offers a joint operation for 200 million. I'm confused. This jerk's asking for help while trying to profit. What a capitalist creep. Endo refuses, saying it's too expensive, practically extortion. The girls know Daniel's about to lose out. He insists missions cost money and Endo should know that. Endo says he doesn't. Mary steps in, saying if their group's strong enough, they won't need much gear, even 20% of the reward would do. Daniel says maybe, but he doubts this crew's that strong. He trusts Genesis Wings, but gold farmers, with that weird name and no transcendent members, they can't do much. Mary smiles, saying she thinks they're capable because Endo seems strong, stronger than her at least. Endo agrees, saying at least that much is true. Daniel's offended, asking if Endo knows what kind of player Mary is. Endo says he knows. She's Mary Keller, the last of Blauvogel's transcendents, ranked 7th. Suddenly she's all shy, giggling, saying he's right. Then she floats up, asking if her brother has no idea who Endo is, and sends an attack his way, vines coming at him. Endo catches one midair and pulls, poor thing. It's all an act. She gets cute, saying it's clear someone who can block her attack like that isn't weak. Daniel asks what she's planning with this act, and this girl's not right in the head. She's all sparkly, saying she couldn't hurt him anyway. She knows who probably took down the vermilion spider in the Earth test. Everyone thinks Genesis Wings did it, but she trusts her ability to judge strength and is sure Tokino couldn't have done it. It had to be Endo. If he joins the Australia mission, they'll definitely win. Man, this girl's got a sixth sense. She feels his strength from afar. The scene shifts to the desert, tanks speeding, the whole group prepping. The squad's assembled, looking like a proper army, not just hunters. There's chatter back and forth, everyone's stalling. Endo says they need to start already. The group gathers for introductions, and everyone's talking about how the leader this time is from gold farmers. Daniel announces the mission's a joint operation with gold farmers, and Endo's the commander. Endo makes it clear he won't let anyone. Endo says no one's dying in this fight. If anyone's unsure about a decision, prioritize saving their own life above all. Each unit gets their instructions, and everyone's to follow them, obviously. The soldiers are annoyed, saying you can't win a national mission with these heroic plans. Seems the protagonist signed with this guild for $5 billion minus their costs. But for each person who dies, it's 10 million less. So obviously he doesn't want anyone dying. He explains this desert's way bigger than other tests, and weirdly, creatures will come from everywhere with instructions given. It's time to start. The guys charge in, tanks rolling, everyone rushing. But suddenly the ground shakes. They look at monsters approaching from 2 kilometers away. It's a hunter's world, but the weapons are modern and the guys are bombing it. Man, their aim's on point, direct hit on the beast. Everyone's got Iron Man gauntlets from S.H.I.E.L.D. guiding missiles perfectly. Endo asks how much each explosion costs. The guy says he's got no idea, but was told to use cheap stuff, so it shouldn't be too pricey in theory. Endo connects with Misa, who says satellite comms are perfect. He tells her to check the ammo cost. She calculates the chemical and metal components. 1 million per explosion. Endo drops to his knees, saying it's ridiculous. They fired so much for one monster. He tells the team he'll handle creatures from now on, just give him their locations. The army keeps advancing, but hyenas are spotted on a hilltop. Instantly, Endo glances, draws his dagger, charges and slices them up before they can fire a shot. Daniel asks why they're pinching pennies when it's just 1,000,000. He gets that saving money's good, but players need to save cooldowns for tough foes. Mari says that only makes sense if Endo's using a skill. Daniel's shocked he's doing all this without one. She says he needs to realize Endo's way stronger than any other hunter. A warning comes in, more enemies approaching from the right. Now Endo's crew rolls in, including the guys he beat up early on. Remember the squad? Adrian, Ian, and Coke. I've got the names of these 3 legends. Ian, always with a vibrating sword, slices first. Coke, with those coins, never tires. Adrian punching hard. Mari praises that not only is Endo strong, they've got elite players, but a wave of creatures approaches. Mari tells him to chill. His time to shine will come, as the real test hasn't even started. Suddenly, a tornado hits the desert. Endo says it's begun, but they're ready with anti-sand gear. He tells them to prep and the team to get in formation. Visibility's now super low, making instructions tough. Gold farmers are to focus on protecting and ensuring no one dies. With orders given, he tells everyone to advance. The hired mercenaries are scared, asking if they're really going into the storm. One says if these weaklings are going in fearless, it can't be a big deal. They form a line and move forward, but it's impossible to see. Sands somehow blocking all light. Then, out of nowhere, 2 giant eyes appear. As the guys turn, a lion charges with a paw swipe. 2 gets scared, wondering if they're separated from the main group. I thought they'd get crushed, but they split up. One sends a spike attack, making the lion suffer, and the other goes for a neck slash. It's not that easy. The lion nearly swipes him. He says he barely survived, but now his friend's about to get bitten. Suddenly the lion's obliterated, pieces everywhere, head on the ground. The 2 are trembling as Endo approaches, saying that was too close. He told them to leave no openings in defense. Unlike gold farmers, these guys die easily, and they need to see each head as $10 million burning. The friends bow, saying they understand and will protect better. Daniel orders anyone struggling with the storm to stay close, and Miri tells everyone they should always keep an eye ahead, following the person closest to them. Anyone who gets separated is sure to die. Suddenly, a massive glow appears in front of everyone. The jerks grinning, saying they've reached the end of the storm. Everyone moves toward the light, ending up at a sort of altar, a mana pillar with 100% HP and a guardian barrier with a final defense of 100% HP too. This is the indestructible sun test. Out of nowhere, the sun grows a face straight out of Teletubbies, welcoming the idiot challengers. Mari reads something and says the sun doesn't attack those outside the barrier. Attacking the 3 surrounding pillars weakens it. Since the pillars are outside the barrier, you can hit them safely anytime. Problem is, they're insanely tough, which is why they need so many people. Endo says they'll handle the main pillar while Vogel's team takes the side ones. The guys ask if the pillar's like a punching bag, and he says basically yes. But Mari changes her mind, saying she's interested in fighting the main one. Their original plan involved a strategy for a continental level threat. Endo apologizes but says his calculations show the combined power here isn't enough to go straight for the boss, and even hitting the pillars barely does anything. They'd better start now. She tries to insist, but he flashes a knife in her face, warning it's 10 billion, that's what they'd owe if they disobey orders. They agreed to this in the contract, so she'd better comply as he can't guarantee anyone's safety otherwise. Embarrassed, she says that's more than she can pay. Endo sighs, saying she'll have to obey then, and they'd better start attacking. They're pounding the pillar from all sides. Yuto cheers, saying the one they're hitting's turned red. Another says there's 2. Endo praises them, telling the gold farmers to move to the next step of the strategy. Meanwhile, the son's just watching. Muri tells her brother that what she mentioned earlier he'd better reconsider. He tries to argue, but she grabs his throat, asking if he's going against her plans. Sweating, he approaches Endo, asking for a favor. He points to the sun, saying he wants his guild to handle it. Confused, Endo asks why they hired him if they can do it. Daniel explains they contacted him because failure wasn't an option. With Endo there, even if they fail, they'd have a clear conscience knowing he'd finish it. Endo realizes they're being used as extra weight. I wonder if he forgot the penalty for failure is 10 billion. Daniel says he knows. Endo reminds him that even if they kill the boss, they won't split the reward. He's risking 10 billion for the same payout. Daniel says it's fine. He's not here for profit. Mari tells him to keep talking. Sweating buckets, he says they're here for experience against a continental level creature. Their guild's strongest players are all here, risking their lives, and he wants it to benefit the team. Mary says that's how players are when a tough challenge appears. They naturally want to try, even if the game's now reality. They won't shy away like cowards. She asks if Endo says he doesn't, but doesn't care as long as they pay the penalty. Daniel says not to worry, the funds are already transferred and he can check his account. Endo thanks him, saying if it's in the bank he won't interfere. The leader of these fools says it's perfect, asking Endo to keep hitting the pillars while they fight the boss. Endo agrees but activates Soul Eye. Oddly, he sees no reaction and seems to extract a knight's soul fragment from a C-rank guy. The condition for the money was receiving 10 billion out of nowhere. Whoa, that fell into place perfectly. It's like the author handed it to him. Wait, I'm all mixed up. Actually, he didn't get the money. He knows he needs the 10 billion, and since he didn't get that knight's soul, he really didn't. He didn't get any money. Think the guy sent only 5 million as an initial payment. Endo makes an offer. If they pay extra when things get risky, he'll save everyone. The fool agrees, but Mori says it's not needed. They chose to fight willingly. Plus, if they get scared mid-battle, they can cross the line to safety. Paying 10 million for something so easy is ridiculous. Endo's getting tired of this girl and says fine, they can do what they want, he'll stick to the pillars. Mori thanks him and tells her team to prep. Daniel says attacks shouldn't hit the sun but the pillar beneath it. The main unit, led by Mori, will break the monster's barrier together. Once the main barrier falls, they'll use bombardments to finish it off. No one should let their guard down once they cross that line. Everyone charges, shouting that the fight's on. Daniel activates Knight's intimidation, drawing the monster's attacks to him. Man, the team's going in with guts. I'm thinking they'll all get roasted. A soldier's setting up a camera, saying the idiots will finally get a peaceful death. The first attack hits Daniel, who holds his own. Enduring the laser's pressure, he activates a water enchantment and smoke rises. His defense is infused with water, countering the fire-based attack. Mary says if the taunt worked and the creatures weakened, they'll win. The soldiers charge, buffed with warrior boosts, while Mari unleashes her attacks and another swings an axe. The attacks hit dead on. It's a stationary pillar, impossible to miss. Everyone's confident until the sun's expression changes. Triangles appear around it, saying now the real fight begins. Suddenly, lasers are everywhere, and no one can dodge. Mari notes even the fastest humans couldn't escape this. She yells for everyone to retreat, grabs a dagger, and everyone screams, asking what she's doing. Man, she throws a slash. Blood spurts up, but it turns into petals. Not just petals, she grows spider legs. Not legs. Paws. And activates Blood Rose skill. Wait, she's plant-based, one of the weakest elements against the sun, or fire rather. The devilish sun's grinning, firing another barrage. Now that she's a hexapod, not biped but six-legged. Makes sense. Her speed's boosted and she dodges easily. Even Yuto, known for speed, is impressed. Endo says it's an incredible skill, all about offensive power. Each thorn she throws deals as much damage as a normal player's full attack. The boss's barrier's at 62%. Endo notes the downside. She's using her own blood, losing tons of HP. Daniel praises her. No high-level player even knew that. Yuto asks if they won't need the machine's prep to destroy the boss. Endo says it's just starting. Bosses like this get stronger as HP drops, and the real challenge begins after the first barrier breaks. The barrier's at 50% now, and the ground starts rising. The sun warns that if they're foolish enough to offer a sacrifice, it'll accept. Mari's still dodging, but with the distance to the sun reduced, reacting's tougher. She's confident in her mobility until the sun summons more triangles. She thinks it makes no sense. The pillar should be weakened. Looking back, it's red, meaning the boss's power is reduced. Out of options, she smartly retreats. But the sun's barrier expands and a warning says to proceed. Someone must be on the altar as a sacrifice. If no one's there, the sun regenerates to 50% HP. Mari, who I just called smart, decides to go back, saying she won't let it recover. The second she enters the arena, a laser hits her paws. Unfazed, she says she's getting used to its speed, keeps retreating, and throws spikes at the pillar. Endo praises her, saying normally, getting hit by that laser makes people retreat, but Mari was pushing forward. Daniel, panicking, asks if the difficulty will keep rising. Endo says unfortunately yes. Once the barrier falls, it'll get worse. If Mari wants his help, it's 5 billion. Daniel asks why it's so much. Didn't Endo offer to save them for 1 billion when it got risky? Endo says that was the upfront price, and obviously the longer it takes, the pricier it gets. Daniel's pissed but says he won't pay, he trusts Mari to win. Endo says fine, he'll watch. The barrier's at 49.7%, meaning Mari's barely doing damage. She notices this, and during her dodges, a laser nearly hits her. She jumps to avoid 3, but 5 more come midair. Her spider paws and arm get shredded, and she's thrown back, writhing in pain. The team screams in despair. Daniel asks why no one's helping, but they say it's impossible. If Mari couldn't handle it in that form, they've got no chance. The poor girl tries to escape, but the sun lands another laser on her thigh. She screams, collapses, and everyone's freaking out. Daniel drops to his knees, begging Endo for help. Our boy's ruthless, we know. He says the price now is 100 billion. But Daniel agrees, saying he'll pay anything to save her. Deal done. An explosion rocks the arena. Endo's charging at 1000 speed. 8 lasers are about to kill Mari, but in a split second, he reaches her, grabs her as the lasers pass, and pulls her out just before the gate, setting her on the ground. Healers rush to help, and I hope they can rebuild arms in this world because she's pretty mangled. With top-tier healers, her life's no longer at risk. Daniel thanks Endo, saying Mari would have died without him. Endo says no need to thank him, just send 10 billion. Ha! He lowered the price. Sneaky guy. Daniel's grateful, saying he now gets that Japanese proverb, even the devil kneels for money. He sends the payment, and Endo gets a C-rank Knight Soul Fragment. Suddenly, Mari laughs, standing up like a maniac. Daniel asks why she's like this. Crying, she says it's absurd. She, one of the 10 transcendents, had no chance against that creature. She feels insignificant. Poor thing tried her best, honestly, but couldn't do it. Daniel praises her effort, but she yells it's impossible. She used Blood Rose and couldn't take 1% of its HP. That monster was made so humans can't kill it. Someone nearby says that's not true. Tests are meant to be completed, or they wouldn't exist. Mari demands how he dares say he can win after seeing that fight. Endo advances with his team, saying that's why they were called. Fighting's the core of gold farmers. That's a lie. He's playing the epic hero but doesn't know it's slander. The siblings stay quiet to see what they'll do. Actually, no. Mari asks Daniel to carry her to the pillar so she can keep hitting it while they fight. This girl's unstoppable, a beast. As long as she's alive, she can use skills, even without 4 limbs. Seems regeneration's possible, so it's not the end of the world. Daniel grabs her collar, saying they need to trust their plan. Everyone in the circle's attacking the sun's triangles. Man, the strategy's simple. Instead of getting blasted by lasers, destroy their source. It's like when I play games and realize the solution to my big problem was obvious. Of course, it's easy to kill lasers when Endo's up front, dodging everything, drawing attention. He explains the strategy. One person draws aggro and dodges while others hit the triangles and the boss. Everyone's shouting Endo's order not to use skills until the barrier's down. The monster's exploding, but its HP's still at 45%. From afar, the siblings see Endo's strategy is solid. It might work. Daniel asks Mari if she could have thought of this. She says probably not. This plan only works if you have someone who can dodge and avoid every attack. If the person under the sun takes a hit, they'll lose a limb and then die. Daniel asks if Endo has the same skill as her. She says no, not in her Ru's form, but he seems to have way more combat experience, anticipating every attack. It's more than a game skill, it's a technique honed over years. Daniel wonders, someone with that much time to train could only be one person. Obviously the last transcendent. She says she's not sure, but Endo's at least a player who could go toe-to-toe with them. Endo lands another hit on the pillar, and the Guardian's barrier hits 0%. Everything shakes, and the team says to prep. It's time to focus firepower to take down the pillar for good. They use skills no one's used yet, all triggered at once, explosions pummeling the pillar. The siblings wonder if it'll be that easy, but the sun's looking terrifying now. It says the challengers are brave and their reward is death. Man, now any sun attack is instant death. As the team hesitates, someone throws an aura-charged blade sideways, then upward. There's our boy. All transcendental-like, he glares at the sun, which glares back. Attacks come his way, but Endo just smiles. It looks like they hit dead on, and everyone thinks he's dead. Endo says attacks that don't harm the body are perfect for him. He's using Soul Reserve, delaying death by 10 seconds. He charges the pillar, slashing away. At 7 seconds and 32 milliseconds, he activates Soul Disaster. Our artists flashing everywhere, cutting X's, Z's, turning it into a Minecraft cube. At 3.8 seconds, the sun's screaming, saying it's impossible. More slashes and it's over. Endo charges the sun and it explodes into burning cement. The main mana pillar's destroyed and the sun test ends. Everyone cheers. Endo says the payout will be sweet, especially since he got the last hit reward and became the first player to conquer a continental challenge. Having already earned the title for being the first to clear a national challenge, he gets a bonus. The titles merge, giving him 100% extra damage against bosses and creatures in large-scale challenges. He grins back when he played he didn't have these and was already OP. Everyone's staring as the system prompts to register the name of the finisher. Of course he puts his name heat like on this video, kids. We've wrapped another one on this channel. Man, when I saw this story's cover with coins and gold around the kid, I thought, a greedy protagonist, but I wasn't ready for this level of greed. I'm still on my theory that he's saving for some secret power. His true class. This jerk still doesn't have one. I'm sure of it. It must cost an absurd amount, something like 1% of the world's entire wealth. That makes sense, the perfect puzzle piece. But we'll only know when more chapters drop. This work's still ongoing, folks. To not miss new chapters, what do? Subscribe to the channel, activate that bell.